I think it's working. Yeah, we're about to find out.
Yeah, let me turn that off. All right. All right, so welcome back. I know it's been a few hours since like I last streamed. Yeah, again, I had got like sidetracked with like some other stuff. Again, I ain't gonna go into it because like, yeah. So I was going to play 7 Days to Die. I might play it later after like watching a few videos. Cause instead of like just doing individual videos like I've been doing, I'm probably just gonna go off like what I see like my recommendation like list like right here. Like I mean I know you guys can't really see it, but like it's like a whole list like right here. And we're just gonna go from there. Look at all these animation. Also, for those who don't know, I am an animator. Again, if you haven't, I do got a. This is my second channel. I do got another channel that's also named Toby X. It's where my animation go. It's more adult, so if you're under 18, don't go there. But at the same time, I can't really tell you what to do. It's internet. But yeah, so why it sucks to be born a vulture by Bound. So I've actually watched him before in the past, like on my like free time. Like it's a really good channel. Honestly, I need to be more proactive with like my animation, but like I want to like flesh out the story. But like that's my own personal stuff. But without further ado, let's just get right into the video.
Egg, slowly pushing with your beak. You squeeze your body bit by bit, and you're out. Your sibling hatched before you. It's sitting close, twitching, and making sounds, but you don't pay much attention. Right now, you're too tired to care. You just rest, taking in this strange new world. A few minutes later, you're more alert. You lift your head and look around. The nest is cramped and messy with sticks and feathers packed tightly together. Your sibling moves closer to you, opening its tiny beak like it's expecting something. It stares for a second before giving you a weak peck on the head. You freeze. Was that necessary? No, but this is how things go. The pecking gets more aggressive. It pushes you, snapping at your head like it's trying to say, I was here first. You try to push back, but you're not strong enough yet. You wobble back and almost fall onto your side. This goes on for a while, a weird, clumsy fight that neither of you are winning. Eventually, you both tire out and collapse. For now, it's a draw, but then something incredible happens. Food. A shadow passes over the nest, and a massive beak lowers toward you. You feel something soft and warm hit your face. You open your beak, and the food drops right in. It tastes strange, but you swallow it without question. Your sibling gets fed next, gulping its portion in one bite. For a moment, everything feels peaceful. You sit next to each other, full and content. But peace never lasts long in the nest. The days pass, and you're starting to get stronger. Your legs hold your weight now, and your wings are finally stretching out. You test them, flapping awkwardly in the cramped space of the nest. But your sibling isn't making life easy. Every time food arrives, it's chaos. They push, snap, and shove you out of the way. At first, you let it happen. You're smaller, and waiting your turn seems like a smart idea. They always seem faster, stronger, and hungrier, but hunger changes things.
Awaken to a world of wonder in Final Fantasy XIV Online.
One day, the rumbling in your belly is too much to ignore. The next bite feels like it might be your last chance. This time, you decide to push back. Food drops into the nest, and your sibling makes their usual move. They jump.
Okay, so real quick. So I know I'm not the only person that thinks this, but like I kind of find vultures a little bit adorable. Granted, like a lot of places, especially like I know like in the not the Midwest, like I want to say like in the Texas area, and like more towards going towards like Central America, Southern like South America, they're really seen like as a bad omen, especially if they're like floating above you. I know you've seen like the cartoons of like people dying in the desert and there's like vultures like floating around the head. I don't know. Like I again after watching like Urban Rescue Ranch like rescued them two vultures, like I kind of had like a soft spot for them, even though they're kind of. It's one of those things that we're just like they're so weird looking to the point where they're just kind of adorable. I just had to say that.
Forward, ready to claim it all for themselves, but you don't step aside. You lower your head and give them a sharp peck on the chest. They freeze, blinking at you, shocked. For a second, everything is still. Then they lunge at you. You tumble over each other, kicking and twisting, fighting like it's the most important thing in the world. Neither of you's winning, but neither of you's backing down either. You peck harder, feeling their grip loosen just enough. Eventually, you both stop, gasping for air. The food is still sitting there between you, untouched. You don't hesitate. You grab it first, swallowing it whole before they can react. Your sibling glares at you, their beak slightly open, breathing hard, but they don't try to take it back. For the first time, you feel like you belong here, not just as the weaker one waiting their turn, but as a real part of this nest. The next time food arrives, the battle begins again. One day, your parents stop bringing food. They land nearby, watching you, but they don't feed you. You tilt your head, confused. You call out, expecting them to swoop in with something to eat. Nothing happens. Then it clicks. It's time to fly. But you knew this moment was coming. For the last 4 months, you've been preparing. You spent hours walking around the nest, hopping from one edge to the other, flapping your wings just enough to lift off the ground for a few seconds. You learned how to balance on rocky ledges and steady yourself when the wind tried to push you over. And you knew that when the real flight came, it wouldn't be perfect. You'd crash. Everyone crashes the first time. You stand at the edge, legs shaking. The wind pulls at your wings, and for a second, you wonder if you should wait just a little longer. But there's no turning back now. You spread your wings, take a deep breath, and jump. The wind hits harder than you expected, throwing you sideways. You flap wildly, trying to get control, but it's no use. You spin, flip, and slam into a bush below. Your parents watch from above, circling, waiting for you to try again. You shake off the leaves, climb back to a higher spot, and spread your wings again. This time, it feels a little better. You glide for a few seconds before losing balance and tumbling into a rock. It takes several tries. Every failed attempt leaves you more sore, more frustrated, but you don't stop. Finally, you catch the wind just right, your wings steady, and you feel it, the lift you've been waiting for. The air carries you higher, holding you steady. You're flying, really flying. It feels incredible. The cliffs blur below you, and for the first time, the wind isn't fighting you, it's carrying you. Your parents call out from above, guiding you forward. Your heart races, but you flap harder. You glide beside them, feeling the rush of the sky all around you. But flying is only the beginning. Now you need to learn how to survive. Flying makes you hungry. You spend hours gliding over the cliffs, scanning the ground below for something. Then you see it. Other vultures are circling in the distance, their shadows stretching across the ground. You follow them, pushing through the wind despite the burning in your wings. When you land, the smell hits you first, thick and heavy. The carcass is big, already surrounded by vultures tearing into it. You hesitate, watching the chaos unfold. The bigger vultures shove and snap at each other, fighting for the best pieces. Their beaks drip with blood, their wings spread wide in a show of dominance. You stay on the edge, waiting for your chance. Finally, there's an opening. You dart forward and grab a chunk of meat. It's tough and cold, but it's food. You tear at it, swallowing as fast as you can. It's not much, but it's yours. No one notices. For now, you're safe. What you don't realize is that you're doing something important, more than just filling your stomach. Vultures are nature's cleanup crew. You eat the parts no one else will touch, bones, rotting flesh, things that would spread disease if left too long. Anthrax, rabies, and other deadly sicknesses that would kill most animals don't affect you. They pass through your body like they were never there. You don't think about any of this, of course. You're just here for the meal. But
Also, real quick, honestly, that's the other reason why I like vultures. Like, they actually do help out. I mean, all animals help out their ecosystem. Because, again, it's very kind of delicate. Not sure where I'm going with that, but yeah, again, every animal in the ecosystem is important, even the ones that you think aren't. And honestly, I respect them for doing that. I'll be honest, I think there was a video I saw of like a vulture just eating a whole femur, like just raw dogging it. I don't know. Again, this ain't gonna be in the stream, but like I'm gonna put it in like post if I like cut this up into like compilation or whatever. I don't know.
without vultures, the world would be full of things much worse than hunger. After your first successful meal, you get the hang of it. Carcasses mean survival, and every meal feels like a victory. But sometimes, the real challenge isn't just finding food, it's keeping it. Other vultures aren't the only ones watching. One afternoon, you're soaring low over a road when you catch a different kind of scent. It's not a carcass, but it smells like meat. You tilt your wings, circling lower to get a better look. Below, a plastic bag lies half open, its contents spilling onto the ground. Bits of leftover meat poke out, shiny and red in the sun. You land carefully, your claws crunching against the dirt. The smell is strong, definitely food. You take a cautious step forward, tapping at the bag with your beak. It rips slightly, revealing more meat inside. For a moment, it feels like you found an easy meal. Then you hear it, a sound behind you. You freeze. A human stands just a few steps away, holding something in their hands. For a second, neither of you moves. Their eyes lock onto you, and then they wave their arms, shouting something loud and sharp. The sound cuts through the air, making your feathers bristle. You jump back, wings spread wide. They take another step toward you, their movements quick and clumsy. That's enough. You're gone, flapping hard into the
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. At that point, you might as well just let the vulture have the meat. Like, if it's already spilled on the ground, you're gonna throw it away anyway. Just at least take the bag and just like leave the meat for it. Like, that's what I would do personally.
sky. From above, you watch as they pick up the bag and toss it into a big metal bin. The
Why?
food is gone. You won't forget that. Next time, you'll be faster. But humans, you'll never fully trust them. By now, you've figured out how things work. You fly, you find food, you fight for your share. But there's always competition. Every carcass is a battleground, and no meal comes without a struggle. One afternoon, you spot a carcass from high above. You dive down fast, aiming to grab a piece before the crowd grows too large. But then, you notice someone familiar, a rival you've seen before. Slightly bigger, slightly stronger, they always seem to get the best scraps before you can. The two of you lock eyes. For a second, neither of you moves. Then they make the first move, lunging for the best piece. You dive in too, beak snapping at the same chunk of meat. You both clamp down at the same time. Neither of you lets go. They yank hard, their wings flaring for balance. You tug back, your feet slipping on the blood-soaked ground. For a moment, it feels like they might win, but you hold on, digging your claws deeper into the dirt. You twist your head sharply, trying to rip the meat free. They tug again, harder this time, their beak dangerously close to your face. Your wings flap wildly for balance, and you nearly lose your footing, but you don't let go. You pull with everything you've got, and then finally, the meat tears in half. You stumble backward, clutching your prize. Your rival stares at you for a moment, breathing hard. Then they turn and walk away, scanning the carcass for something else. You sit down and take a bite. The taste is rich and warm, but you don't have time to savor it. Another vulture eyes your piece from the side, waiting for a chance to take it. You swallow quickly. Around here, the only rule is simple. Eat fast or lose everything. Time passes. The days grow shorter, and the air turns colder. Autumn settles over the cliffs, bringing a quiet change. The same drive that pushed you to survive now pulls you towards something else. You don't know why, but you feel it. An urge to find a partner and build something of your own. You land on a rocky ledge, scanning the sky. The wind is steady, and the cliffs stretch far in both directions. This is a good spot, safe and high above the ground. Then you see them. Another vulture circling just above. You watch quietly, waiting. They land beside you, their feathers ruffling in the breeze. Neither of you moves for a moment. Then they take a step closer. You stay. Together you build a nest. It's not much, just a pile of sticks and leaves wedged between rocks. You bring piece after piece, weaving it into something sturdy. A few weeks later, 2 eggs lay in the center of the nest. You sit on them carefully, keeping them warm while your partner flies off to find food. Then one morning you feel a crack. The first chick wriggles free, its tiny body shaking as it pushes out of the shell. You nudge it gently, clearing bits of shell away. The second chick hatches a day later, smaller but just as determined. The days blur together. You bring back food, tearing it into pieces and feeding them one by one. They're always hungry, their beaks open wide, squawking for more. Their legs grow stronger, their wings stretch wider, and before you know it, they're ready to fly. The sky is wide and clear. You lift off from the ledge, your wings stretch to their full length. Your family follows close behind. The chicks flap hard, trying to match your rhythm. Their flight is clumsy, but they're learning. You glide higher, leading them past the cliffs and out across open fields. The wind hums softly in your ears, and for a moment everything feels perfect. Then you see it, a tall metal pole rising in the distance. Thin wires stretch between the poles, shining faintly in the sun. You've rested on poles like this before.
Oh,
it feels
no.
safe.
Hold on.
You tilt your wings and glide toward
Don't do it, bro.
landing carefully
Don't
on
do
the
it.
metal bar. Your partner lands beside you, and then the chicks. For a second, everything is still. Then the hum begins, a blinding flash. The jolt strikes fast and fierce, shooting through your body like fire. Your wings seize, your legs lock. You try to move, but nothing listens. Your partner cries out first, wings flaring in panic before folding lifeless at their side. One chick thrashes, feet scraping desperately at the pole. The other tries to fly, but only manages a single weak flap before collapsing beside you. You want to reach them. You want to help. But you can't. One by one, they fall. Their bodies slump against yours, motionless. The sky tilts. The world spins. The hum fades into silence. High above, other vultures glide peacefully, circling in wide, lazy arcs. They don't notice. They never will. Life as a vulture might be rough, but there's another animal out there that has it.
Bro, I'll be honest, rip to the vulture family. The whole family just got murked. But again, obviously don't forget to like, subscribe if you haven't. Again, Bound is a really good YouTuber. Again, I had to watch that. Okay, so what else is there? I would watch another one of these videos, but I want to mix it up a little bit. So, real quick, let me go back to the homepage real quick. Oh, here's the video.
This is one of the smartest birds in the world. It's the bearded vulture, also known as the bone eater. For obvious reasons. 90% of this bird's diet is literally just bones. They have one of, if not the strongest digestive system in the whole world. That's what...
Bro, literally just gobbled the shit. Pause. But still, it's just crazy. All right, all right. Yeah, no TikTok shorts. Yeah, let's watch this. All right.
Survival.
Hold on real quick. Okay, so survival myths that will actually get you killed by Trust Me Bros. Okay, so I actually am subscribed to him, not on this channel, but on my main channel, but I'm subscribed to him on my second channel just to give him a double sub. But again, this is one of the old, not OGs, but like he's one of the more popular YouTubers out there that kind of sprung up out of nowhere and just kind of took the niche by storm. Because I remember he was around, there was like a few others animators that were around that did the same topic right before it got super popular with other like creators and stuff. Oh, also, same thing with Serious History. We might watch this one later because this one I haven't watched just yet. But real quick, let's watch this one.
Myths that would actually get you killed. You and your best bro are sitting on the couch watching TV, bored out of your mind. You're flipping through the channels when you see somebody you recognize. It's the British guy who goes outside and drinks his own pee for fun. After watching him squeeze elephant poop into his mouth to drink water, you decide to go outside and test your survival capabilities, and also test how real common survival knowledge really is in practice. Because let's be real, whether you're an outdoorsy person or not, we've all heard survival tips at some point in our life. Are these tips that we've always just accepted as truth actually life-saving, or could they potentially get you killed? And with you and your friends being inspired, you both pack your bags and head out the door for the adventure of a lifetime, not knowing whether or not this would be your last adventure. You were just dropped in an extremely remote location by a helicopter. And as you watch the helicopter fly off, you and your friend are now completely alone, left to your own devices, and your sole goal is to survive and make it home using only the knowledge that you've heard in passing. Before you and your friend can even take your first steps, you need to first understand what direction should you go. And before you could even think, your friend says, why don't we go north? And while you agree, you have a question. How do we know which way is north? But luckily, everybody knows if you want to know which direction is north, all you have to do is find a tree with moss on it, because moss will only grow on the north side of the tree. So you and your friend begin walking until you notice a tree that has moss growing on the bottom of it. And as you approach the tree, that you can see that the moss is in your direction, meaning that if you just do a 180 and start turning around, you'll be going north. Although, just to be sure, you take a quick look around the tree and realize that there isn't only moss on the north side, there's moss on the north, south, east, and west side. This tree trunk is completely covered in moss, and it's not the only one. All of these tree trunks have moss all over them, meaning that you have no idea which way is north, and also debunking this myth that moss is somehow a compass. But this myth isn't just straight out of a fairy tale. There is some basis of reality here, although it's just not fully accurate or reliable at all. According to Michigan State University, it is more likely for moss to grow more prominent.
Hey, MSU out here. Again, for those who don't know, like I am from Michigan. Again, shout out to my Michigan boys. I know there's also another YouTube that I look at. If y'all know Joe, I forgot his last name, but like I know he's also from Michigan too. So shout out to him. If you haven't subscribed to him, I might watch one or two of his videos on stream. I'm not too sure.
On the north side of trees and rocks, although moss can grow basically anywhere, meaning that if you are using moss to navigate, you are setting yourself up for failure, and in a survival situation, setting yourself up for your own possible demise. And while I like organic stuff as much as the next person, I'm gonna stick to my GPS, or at least my compass, when it comes to navigation. Feeling slightly foolish and a bit betrayed, you and your friend decide to confirm which direction is north with your compass and begin moving. So far, this walk is pleasant, and the forest that you guys are in is beautiful and
I know he's probably gonna talk about it, but like, I mean, the sun is out. I mean, there is like the popular saying, like rises in the east, sets in the west. Like, I mean, it doesn't take 5 seconds just to look at the sun and kind of guess which way is like north and south from like that.
Hush. And the steps begin to fly by, and you and your friend are almost lost in conversation when your friend realizes something utterly terrifying. Because the vegetation on the ground is so lush, it's almost impossible to see what's lurking around your feet. And while your friend wasn't looking down, a venomous snake was able to slither onto his boot, up his pant leg, and wrap around your friend's thigh. But the snake didn't just end there. This snake, straight out of Data University, decided to bite your friend directly on the crotch. And by the time you even noticed the snake wrapped around your friend's leg, it was too late, and your friend was screaming in agony. Fortunately, you were able to quickly grab the snake and throw it off into the wilderness. But now you are left with a massive problem. Your friend has just been bitten by a venomous snake.
I already know where this is going. I'm sorry, bro. You're just gonna have to die, bro. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. I know where this is going. I'm sorry, bro. Like just GG's, bro. You cooked.
But fortunately, he has a survival tip. It's common knowledge that when somebody receives a venomous snake bite, the best thing to do is immediately suck out the venom, right? It's only logical. The entry wound is still fresh. If you can pull the toxins directly out of the wound, you're only dealing with a small cut and not any venom being directly injected into your bloodstream. It's perfectly logical. And although the placement may be a bit unfortunate, you'd be willing to help your friend out if it was life or death. But in reality, this practice wouldn't be helpful at all. And here's how. Like I mentioned, it may seem initially logical that you would want to remove the venom by any means possible. And some people have even suggested that you should cut the injection site of the fang to make it bigger to be able to suck out more venom. But the reality is this: once a snake has bitten its victim, there is no way for you to suck out any meaningful amount of venom. And if you were to cut the bite location, you would only be making the wound bigger, causing a higher chance of infection. Speaking of infection, putting your bacteria-ridden mouth on your friend's fresh wound is only going to increase the chances of introducing bacteria directly into your friend's fresh wound. And while it is possible to suck out a small amount of venom, it is not going to be a large enough amount to save your friend's life. However, it could be a large enough amount to cause yourself serious bodily harm or potentially even death as well.
Yeah, because isn't the mouth like a permeable like membrane, kind of like how like the nasal cavity is? I feel like the minute you like try to suck the snake venom out, like it's just gonna get absorbed into your own mouth, and then you're just gonna be in the same situation as your friend. So I mean, with that logic, I mean, like, you might have to cut your dick off, bro. I'll be so honest. Cause like, yeah, there ain't no way I'm bending down anywhere near that.
So yeah, even though your friend was extremely keen on you removing the venom out of his wound the good old-fashioned way, you luckily both had access to Google just for this brief amount of time. And you were able to confirm that this practice was outdated and potentially deadly and fatal to both of you. And the best course of action would be to limit your friend's mobility. This way, the venom would travel through your friend's body as slowly as possible, giving you the maximum amount of time to get antidote before things got fatal. However, due to plot armor, you had antidote on you and you were able to heal your friend without doing any sort of mouth to wound suction. After you administer the antidote and you allow your friend to bandage himself up, you both continue on your trek through the woods, feeling better and grateful to be alive, but also feeling more betrayed, because so far everything you thought you knew was wrong. But before you and your friend could continue to complain about how crazy that entire ordeal was, you run into a much bigger problem. A 750-pound problem that's...
Oh no. Why they gotta picture Nick with just like without his shirt on, just bare belly and all? And this is like OG Nick before he got like skinny and shit.
Looking you right in the face. This problem is an adult, aggressive black bear. Your first instinct is to run the opposite way, but before you could even turn, your friend whips his arm around and clenches your arm tightly, holding you in your place. You look your friend in the eye and he tells you, "Are you crazy, man? We can't run away. We have to act like we're already dead." And with your friend's iron grip being on your arm, you have no other option but to lay down beside him. And now the both of you are laying on the ground with a 750-pound black bear slowly approaching your position. You and your friend at this point may be feeling like you just saved your lives. You outsmarted the black bear, and in a few minutes you'll be back well on your way. But in reality, you just made the black bear's life a lot easier and served him up 2 meals on a silver platter.
Our commitment to you is delivering the world's most advanced PC.
Man, what I wouldn't do for a PC like that. I mean, even though I'm not a big fan of like water cooled, like, man, like I know this has nothing to do with the video, but like, I'll be so honest with you guys. I'm literally rocking a 2060, bro. I'm a few generations behind, bro. So I mean, like, if you ever see this video and like actually watch like the VOD, like, please like and subscribe so like I can finally afford like a better PC so I can do more shit. Like, cool stuff with you guys. Cause like, yeah, there's only so much I can do with this without my house like just burning down from like my PC just like chugging.
I think most of us at some point have heard, if you see a bear, just play dead. But I think at this point, hopefully most people know that
Okay, so the thing is, I know he's probably gonna explain it, but like, that doesn't work on all bears.
there is definitely some nuance to that. Specifically, that advice does not apply to all bears. Black bears, for example, do not take well to people playing dead. In this
Oh yeah. So for those who don't know, I think that's a sun bear. I think this one is a sloth bear, I believe. I know they're like native to like. No. I feel like I'm mixing up my bears. Don't hit me in the comments for that, please. But I know one of these bears is like native to India, and they're like super aggressive to like tigers and stuff. And I know like they're known to like eat people's faces off, like crazy stuff like that. And I know there's like a video on YouTube, like I'm not gonna link it or anything, but like there's a video of like this bear in India that literally ate this child and almost ate this dude, but the whole like village literally came out of nowhere and just beat the shit out of the bear with like sticks and shit. It was crazy.
This is exactly why the bear is currently shaking your friend in his mouth like a dog that just got a new chew toy. Black bears are notoriously aggressive, and if you encounter one, your best course of action is 1, slowly retreat if it doesn't notice you, but if it is fixated on you, your best next steps are to get as big and aggressive as possible.
Or you could be like that one dude and just like move around this car and just like close the back door and just like get in this car and just like pretend like this ain't there.
Obviously, you can't fight this bear, but you want to make this bear believe that it's not even worth fighting you. You want to extend your arms and legs outward, look big as possible, yell, sound aggressive, do anything to intimidate this bear, and if you're convincing enough, you may even scare the bear in this process. Grizzly bears, on the other hand, are a bit different. Experts say that grizzly bears respond better if you actually do lay down on the ground, although it's best if you protect your neck just in case it remains still.
Also, I'm pretty sure you guys probably already know, but like grizzly bears are fucking huge. Like, I mean, like, scary huge. Like, they look so small, but a lot of times the only reason is because of that, because people take like pictures like far away. But like when you see one like right next to like a car or something, you'll realize how really big they are. And I know there's like a video of this bear right next to this cabin, and it just, man, I'll be honest, if you're getting stalked by like a grizzly bear, or like forbid like a Kodiak bear. If you don't got a gun, bro, you GG's, bro. You're just dead.
Until the bear checks you out and hopefully leaves you alone. And if you happen to end up in a situation where you're face to face with a polar bear, you're
cooked. You're cooked. Between the two, I'll be honest, you have better chances with the grizzly bear. I believe polar bears do not give a single F about if you lie down and pretend that you're dead or not, or if you fight back or not. I think only thing that works with them is if you like, when you're running away from them, if you take off like layers of clothes or something like that. And even then, that might not work for all of them. But like, as like far as size go, like, nah.
That is to prey. Because polar bears are like black bears, but worse. They are the most aggressive and the most likely to tear your head off. So yeah, although the advice of playing dead around a bear isn't fully inaccurate, it once again definitely requires some additional context. The current popular saying is, if it's brown, lay down, if it's black, fight back, and if it's white, good night. Not because you're supposed to play dead, but because you're going to be dead. As you continue to lay motionless on the ground, you peek open one of your eyes to see what's going on. You notice that the black bear has dropped your friend and was distracted by something else, and luckily left you both alone. Your friend, while a little bit worse for wear, is still alive. And
he was trying to go after that pum pum.
Help get him back on his feet, and you once again continue your journey. Feeling a bit bad for your friend, because at this point it looks like he's
also, I know he probably didn't mention it, but like when they do walk away like that, you want to stay down. Again, I'm not no like expert, but I do know kind of what I'm talking about. But like, if you're in that situation and you think that the bear's gone, stay down for like a good like 10-15 minutes just to make sure that the bear's gone, because the bear could still be hanging around the area for like a little bit before it like actually decides to leave. So like, yeah, don't just immediately get up if you think it's gone. Otherwise, it's just gonna come back and like disembowel you.
survived 3 rounds with Mike Tyson, 4 days with Diddy, and 5 nights at Freddy's, you decide you would let him take a quick breather and go around gathering some food. Your friend sits down on a rock under a tree, and you decide to go and see what you can find. And once you begin wandering around looking, you realize one crucial thing. You have no idea what's edible or not, and you don't even know what's around you, but that doesn't stop you from looking. And quickly you find yourself approaching some interesting red...
I'm no fungus expert, but I'm pretty sure that is poisonous to like the millionth degree.
mushrooms. Now, you know mushrooms can definitely be questionable, but the fact that you see a little snail munching away at these gives you hope. And as you pick these mushrooms, you notice that there's actually small bite marks from chipmunks. This gives you all the confidence you need to pick a few mushrooms and put them in your pocket and to continue scavenging. You continue looking around when you notice a small bush with inconspicuous red berries. You've never seen these berries before, but it doesn't mean that you can't eat them. And while you're cautious of these mysterious red berries, you notice a small bird fly down into this bush and carefully eat these berries.
Okay, just because you see an animal eating them and they're okay with it doesn't mean that it's going to be okay for you to eat it. First of all, in this situation, if it isn't like a mammal or something, like, and you're not familiar with like the local fauna and like what's edible and what's not, do not pick it up and eat it, please. Otherwise, you're just going to be dead, or you're probably just going to be tripping balls depending on which one you pick up. Again, I'm pretty sure that might be chicken of the woods or something like that. But again, that tree is alive, so I don't know.
Before flying away. And once again, you rationalize with yourself, well, if this animal can eat this, obviously I can. If something was poisonous to them, they wouldn't eat it. So you go ahead and collect some of these berries as well. And you notice that you've been scavenging for hours. So you decide to return to your friend and show him your loot. Your friend doesn't seem too enthused by the small handful of random mushrooms and red berries, but something is better than nothing. And you and your friend begin to munch on the world's weirdest trail mix. Feeling energized from the food and also feeling energized mentally that you finally had some knowledge that was true, you and your friend both have a bit more of a pep in your step, because you knew that you had at least some right information, right? That is, until you realize your friend is looking in two directions and he is foaming at the mouth. In shock, you try to say something to him when all you can get out is a jumbled mess of slurred words, and you and your friend both pass out face down on the forest floor. Survival technique of eating what animals ate failed you both. And the reality is, animals are just better than you. And just because the animal can eat it doesn't mean you can eat it at all. Just think about it. Every animal has developed its own unique way of digestion, and the things that our bodies are able to safely process and consume typically come from thousands and thousands of years of consumption. And on top of this, some animals are just built different. Like cows, for example, they have 4 stomachs, and every animal processes the same foods differently. The bird that ate those red berries, for example, was able to pass the toxic seeds from those berries directly through its digestive system without any issues. And those seeds that are now a part of its excrement are now replanted and continuing the life cycle of those berries. But in your case, those seeds have been cracked open by your teeth and are now infecting your entire body with deadly toxins. And the chipmunk that was taking bites out of that small red mushroom has a specialized stomach acid that can neutralize the toxins within this deadly mushroom. However, you simply do not have the facilities to handle that. And the same mushroom that gives that chipmunk life gave you and your friend a near-death experience. Just because you saw an animal eating something does not mean it's not deadly for you. After a few hours being passed out on the floor, you and your friends slowly come to and pick yourselves up off the ground. Nonetheless, you and your friend decide it's time to get serious because the sun is soon setting and you guys need to eat food. Really quickly, I just wanted to mention that this video is sponsored by Five. And right now, they have a special promo for you. If you love catching a buzz in a way that is discreet, safe, and clean, you are going to love Five. And right now, their gummies are even better because their brand new Quick Hits gummies kick in less than 10 minutes. These 15 milligram gummies come in Blue Dream, Pineapple Express, Sour Diesel, and Super Lemon Haze. And on top of that, you can get them legally delivered directly to...
Alright, as much as I am oregano friendly from time to time, yeah.
You see a lonely old caribou walk slowly until it collapses right before your eyes. And while this is an unfortunate sight for you and your friend, this could be life or death. And in this instance, having an endless supply of high quality food in front of you is something you and your friend couldn't have even imagined. You both approach the caribou to ensure that it's no longer with you. And once you have that confirmation, you begin to prepare the animal. Fortunately, for once, you were able to put useful knowledge to good use. And shortly after preparing the animal, you and your friend are sitting at a campfire under a tree, under the stars, eating your first meal in what feels like forever. But as good as having a hearty meal feels, and as confident as you feel knowing you have a nearly endless supply of food,
Okay, yeah. So the thing is with that too, you want to at least try to get that carcass or something away from your camp and like in a tree or something because that's just going to attract other predators because they can smell the carcass. But I'm pretty sure he's probably going to talk about that.
The reality is that you're not set for food at all. And while you might not realize it now, in the near future, eating this food alone could easily kill you. And the reason is simple but interesting. And it all comes down to biology. Your body simply can't digest protein without fat. And if your diet only consists of protein with no other micronutrient, your body could literally starve or develop protein poisoning. The term for this situation is called rabbit starvation, or the French-Canadian term caribou sickness. But they both refer to the protein poisoning I just mentioned. But the reality is if you are only eating direct, big game, lean protein, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Also, I didn't know that is caribou all lean meat? I didn't even know that.
And it's because of this very real caribou sickness that beavers were extremely valuable to North American indigenous people, because beavers had such high amounts of fat, which is why beaver hunting and trapping was so important, not just for pelts, but also for fat, so that this fat could be consumed, allowing your body to properly digest the protein from the big game you also caught. Black bears are also a great source of animal fats, although it's much.
No. If all possible, in a survival situation, never eat predator meat. Because it contains, well, sometimes it can contain a lot of like parasites and stuff that will fuck up your gut and a lot of other things. It's not pretty. I know people do eat bear meat, but like it's not recommended at all.
Much easier to trap a beaver than a black bear, for reasons we discussed earlier. But yeah, if you tried to live solely off of a big game carcass, you would soon find yourself suffering from a strange form of starvation, simply because your body needs protein, but it also needs other macronutrients to properly absorb and process this protein. Luckily for you and your friend, you're both blissfully ignorant to this fact, and you wouldn't be eating off this carcass for long enough to experience these symptoms. And after both of you have successfully filled your bellies, you decide that it's time to get some rest. You suggest to your friend that maybe you guys should build a quick shelter, just something to keep you guys safe. But
also, side note is, in this type of situation, you could eat the organ meat because a lot of organ meat does have a lot of nutrients and fat in it naturally. So, I mean, there's that, but like, yeah.
But your friend tells you that that's a waste of time and energy, and that you guys need to conserve your calories as much as possible right now. And you both simply lay down on the ground and close your eyes to sleep. But that sleep isn't peaceful at all. And only a few hours into your sleep, you wake up freezing cold, colder than the air temperature outside, and you're kind of at a loss. And the reason is rather simple. Laying directly on cold ground is a great way to rapidly reduce your body heat. Literally because the ground is stealing heat from your body and lowering your core body temperature, causing you to burn more calories to try to heat yourself back up, while also absorbing all of the extra heat that your body is generating.
I'm gonna like
so
stop
in a cold
pausing
environment
constantly
like
because I
the
know a
one
lot of
that you're
people
in
don't
at
like that.
night, you could not only lose body heat, but also experience
So I'm probably just
hypothermia
gonna, like,
just by
nod here
laying
and
on the bare ground, which is why you'll see outdoorsy people swear by a ground mat. Consider it insulation to keep your body heat within you and not being stolen by the ground beneath you. And now that you understand that collecting debris to lay on is a worthy investment of calories, you quickly put together a bundle of grass and leaves to make something soft, but also to make something to insulate your body heat. And you make a makeshift mattress that's large enough for both you and your friend. And you roll your friend onto it, you lay beside him, conserving body heat, and you close your eyes and experience your first bit of rest. The following morning, you decide it's time to start your day and continue your adventure. You begin to inform your friend about last night's discovery and how sleeping on the ground is not okay. But before you can even finish making your point, your friend stops you and points ahead. Because what stands in your way is something you haven't noticed until now. A massive snow-capped mountain. And there's no way around it. You and your friend now need to begin hiking. Luckily, you and your friend are energized from a good night's sleep and at least some sort of food that doesn't almost kill you. And as you and your friend begin to climb through this mountain, the temperatures begin to get lower and lower. And it's at this point when you're able to make the point to your friend that body temperature is something you guys need to keep in mind in these survival situations. But as your friend brushes off your concern about body temperature, he tells you the only thing you guys should be concerned about right now is water. You begin to get nervous because now that you're halfway up this mountain and surrounded by snow, there's no water around you. But your friend laughs at you and reminds you that this snow is water.
No. Thing is, don't eat snow because not only will you lower your own body temperature, the snow could have parasites and stuff in it.
grabs a handful of snow off the ground, which appears to be untouched, and begins to chow down on his solid water. And while to most this seems completely safe and logical, this is definitely not the most ideal way to consume water. The first risk that this poses is that this snow or ice could actually cause micro tears or cuts in your mouth, which could definitely cause problems down the line. But more importantly than that, consuming ice directly is a surefire way to lower your core body temperature, causing your body to work overtime to heat itself back up. Your friend may think that body temperature isn't an important ordeal, but you know that it's nothing to laugh at. And at this very moment, hypothermia is a much bigger risk to you than being dehydrated. But unfortunately, your friend is in a bit of a pickle. Because yeah, he was able to hydrate himself through all of the snow he just ate, but he's now shivering uncontrollably and he's hungrier than he was yesterday because his core body temperature has been lowered and his body is consuming as much calories as it can to heat itself back up. Now, you're thirsty as well, but you're not willing to go through that entire experience. And what you do is a lot more wise. You remember watching the Outdoor Boys YouTube channel, and luckily
Also, shout out to this man. Like, again, he was the GOAT for the Outdoor Boys. Was like one of the best outdoor channels out there. Like, I'll be honest, like, this dude, he was cooking every single time he was out there. But like, it's still a shame that people kept on harassing him after he got like super famous, and he literally had to stop. It's a shame. Like, I wish people weren't like that. Like, literally, we could have been watching I could have been reacting to a new Outdoor Boys video right now, but people got to ruin everything.
you had the same supplies that he did. You scoop up snow into some sort of metal tin, you put it over top of a propane heater, and you allow the snow to melt. And then you consume the pre-melted, ideally room temperature water, allowing your body to not have to reheat it once it's consumed. Your body can simply use it as is. And the benefit of using this method as well too, assuming you have access to some sort of heat source, is you can actually kill any bad bacteria. But assuming that's not a risk here, you're able to at least avoid the whole hypothermia your friend is now fighting. After this whole water debacle, you realize that your friend's only chance of regaining any sort of heat is by continuing to move. So you keep on your path going over the snow-capped mountain. Unfortunately, your friend is no longer shivering, but you and your friend are now facing a much different issue. You and your friend are now both sweating, which is good. Body heat at this point is not a concern at all. This shouldn't be an issue. And sure, you might smell a little bit later, but what is an issue is the base layer of what you and your friend are wearing. Before you even left, you and your friends were debating on whether or not you should wear your clothes in a certain order. And your friend, obviously being a bit more reckless, said it didn't matter at all. So he started by putting on a cotton undershirt, a cotton hoodie, and then put a jacket over.
That's where he went wrong with that cotton, because that cotton's going to absorb a lot of sweat. Again, I mean, I can't talk because I'm literally wearing like a cotton shirt right now, and like I'm sweating, even though it's like 70-something degrees in my room. So I know for sure their undershirts are like drenched.
Top that was waterproof to help keep water out. You, on the other hand, wanting to be different, decided to wear a base layer that was more moisture wicking, but still followed that up with another hoodie and a waterproof jacket. Now here's the difference. While you and your friend are still sweating now, as soon as you guys stop and your body heat begins to go down, the sweat trapped in your clothes is going to be deadly. And if your base layer is made of cotton, that sweat isn't going anywhere anytime soon. And after hours of hiking, you and your friend decide to take a break, and you guys experience the effects of this firsthand. After only sitting for around 15 minutes, your friend is not only cold once again, but he is shivering worse than he was before. And like I mentioned, that's because now his cotton shirt is drenched with sweat. And when cotton gets wet, it loses its ability to insulate you, meaning that your friend has effectively put a cold...
Okay, I know I keep on pausing. I know I just said I was not going to do that, but like, there's a lot I have to say about this. Again, I learned this from like Survivor and like Man vs. Wild and stuff. But like, your best your best first layer, especially if you're going to be in a cold environment, is wool, because wool will keep in that heat even if it's sweat, at least from what I remember from like watching it a long time ago. I know like a lot of hikers, like professional hikers and like a lot of like militaries, they'll basically give you like wool socks and stuff to go with your boots, because again, that's the other thing too. Make sure that you wear like socks when you wear your boots, especially if you're going to be outdoors for long periods of time, because them socks are going to save you one way or another.
conductor directly on his body, and also effectively removed a layer, making him at risk once again for hypothermia. Luckily for you, you unintentionally decided to dress and act appropriately. You didn't wear a cotton base layer, meaning that by the time you already sat down and relaxed, your shirt was slightly wet in your armpits, but the rest of your shirt was able to dry relatively quickly. And also, as you were hiking up the mountain, you decided to remove layers, allowing yourself to not get too hot or sweaty. And that is the reason why you're not experiencing hypothermia right now. Because as you can tell, getting sweaty in a cold survival situation could be life or death. And a good rule of thumb is, if it's cold enough to wear multiple layers, it's too cold to wear a cotton-based layer or cotton at all. And while it may seem counterintuitive to remove layers when you're in a cold environment, if you are exerting energy and on the verge of sweating, it is best to remove these layers to prevent sweating as much as you can. As thick as your friend's plot armor is, he is struggling at this point, and still somehow alive. He is dealing once again with hypothermia, and you guys have no access to fire or anything to warm him up. Your friend randomly asks you if you have any alcohol on you, and coincidentally, you did. You had a small bottle of some pretty strong alcohol in your backpack, and you wondered why he wanted it. But before you could even ask him what he wanted it for, he grabbed the bottle out of your hands and chugged it. After wiping his mouth, he tells you that obviously drinking alcohol warms you up. It makes you feel warmer and increases your body temperature. And while I believe this is a myth we've all heard, it's been debunked.
If you don't know where to start in Top Heroes World, the Springland is a great place to start. There are low-level enemies and villages
numerous times, and it also is completely counterproductive. The origin of this myth is actually interesting and comes from a Saint Bernard dog that was carrying a brandy flask around its neck, and this dog was savoring people that was buried in the French Alps. And unfortunately, this brandy may help you feel better, but definitely won't make you better. If you've experienced the alcoholic beverage, then you've probably noticed the sensation at some point of warmth. And this isn't because the alcohol is raising your body temperature, it's actually because the alcohol is making your blood vessels dilate, stimulating the nerve endings in your skin. But it doesn't actually increase your body temperature. And if you are in a cold environment that is specifically life or death, this dilation of the blood vessels will cause your body temperature to fall and likely cause you to die much faster than you would have if you just stayed sober. So although alcohol may give you the simulation of warming up and potentially take your mind off of the pain you're in, it's definitely not doing you any favors in the survival department. Realizing the severity.
Okay, so the thing is, like, there is a time where alcohol is appropriate in a survival situation. Specifically when you're trying to like disinfect a wound or you're trying to sterilize something because you think it might be infected. So there is merit to actually carrying alcohol with you in a survival situation, but I would recommend drinking a lot. You can have like a little bit in a cold situation, but don't drink until you like fucked up. That's what I'm trying to say. Again, I'm not no expert. Again, I just like a lot of like things on the internet and I like learning stuff. So like, yeah.
Of the situation, you come to the conclusion that you need to get out of this mountain quick. And while your friend is incapacitated and breaths away from death, you realize your best bet was to turn your friend into a toboggan and ride him down the mountain like Mrs. Kwan in the Cat in the Hat movie. And in only a few minutes, you went from the top of the snow-capped mountain to a place you weren't in yet. You weren't in the forest anymore. You were on a beach. And luckily, it was warm enough to help you and your friend feel better, and you noticed that you were on an ocean. And this ocean could be your ticket to freedom. With both you and your friend being on your last brain cells, you both intuitively build a raft with absolutely no plan of going anywhere and no knowledge on any sort of nautical construction. Regardless, you make a makeshift raft and set sail, hoping that maybe somebody on the water will see you and save you. After
no food, no water, no nothing, just raw dogging it.
hours of sitting on your raft, you and your friend are once again hungry. And while your friend is still sobering up, you decide your best bet is to look for some fish. You take a dive off your raft and you find yourself surrounded by a school of fish, but you're unable to catch any. That is, when you look through the school of fish and notice that a large shadow is approaching you. This isn't a big fish. This is a shark. And it's coming directly for you. You have nanoseconds to try to decide what your next move would be. And the first thing that comes to mind is movies and TV shows showing you that if you punch a shark, you're gonna be all right. So quickly and intuitively, as the shark approaches you, you don't move out of the way, you simply assume a karate stance and prepare to punch the shark. Now here's the deal. If you were actually going to go through with this, there's two likely outcomes. The first is that you are able to successfully punch the shark and scare it away, similar to the black bear, making it seem like you're not worthy prey. But the more likely outcome is that you extend your arm and have your arm ripped off by a shark and then have the rest of your body consumed shortly after. Underwater, you have almost no strength whatsoever. Like, just try throwing a full force punch next time you're in a pool underwater. It's gonna do almost nothing. And
it's just like when you try to do a punch in like your dreams and stuff. That's literally how it is. Also, I want to say, like, yeah, you can punch the shark, but also depending on how fast the shark is, because sharks don't immediately attack. That's the other thing that a lot of like popular media gets wrong. Like they would like go up to you curiously to see what you are first before they decide if you're a meal or not. So one of the best things to do in that situation would be to like not move too fast, keep eye contact, and make sure that you keep the shark in line of sight. And also, if it does get close and wants to like investigate you, because they would do like a test bite first to see if like you're something tasty or not. Before it does that, grab it by the nose and then rotate the fucker. Like literally, like just grab it by the nose and just rotate the shit. And a lot of times that basically like kind of like, I want to say disables them, but it basically puts them in like sleep mode, but for like sharks. Again, I don't have no videos in the vlog, but like, well, the VOD, but if I do edit this, like I'm gonna put in like a video to support it. But like, yeah, like sharks they're scary to a certain degree, but they're not as scary as you think they would be.
Besides this, sharks are ruthless killing machines. Even if you could throw your strongest punch.
Again, not all sharks are. Some sharks, yeah, are more inclined to like attack you, like bull sharks, and I know great whites will, especially if you're like in their feeding areas. But like for the most part, a lot of them are just curious and trying to figure out what you are before they actually decide if they want to eat you or not.
At a shark, it's not going to be phased. Combine that with your lack of agility in the water and the shark's endless agility in the water.
Actually, I want to say something. So like that part is actually kind of wrong. Like in most cases, like a lot of the sensitive nerve endings are on the front nose of the shark. So I would say like if you want to punch the shark, which I kind of don't recommend, but if you're in a situation you got no choice, punch it in the nose, go for the eyes, or go for the gills. Those are the 3 weak spots you want to go for in order to deter a shark.
Your strike effectiveness in even misdirecting the shark is extremely low. If a shark was in your area, you could easily push it out of your way or misdirect it by pushing its head if you had the leverage to do so, but even that is potentially risky. But in the situation when a shark is coming at you with the intent of damage, your best bet is to attack sensitive areas, specifically by plunging your thumb into the shark's eye or gills. Really, the only 2 areas where you can cause significant damage and at least make the shark retreat temporarily. And so, in a last-minute split decision, you decide not to punch the shark, but to actually poke it in the eye, causing the shark to cry and turn around, leaving you alone, and giving you the chance to climb back on the raft with your friend. At this point, you and your friend have been through hell and back. Your friend more so than you, but you are both now laying on your back, looking up at the sky, exhausted. And at this point, accepting your fate and understanding that maybe this trip was a mistake. And as you
Also, other thing, if you do have to be on a raft, make sure that you have cover over you. Do not just stand straight in the sun, because that's how you die of dehydration a lot faster than you normally would. That's the other thing they don't tell you. It's not going to be cool or nothing. It's literally just straight sun. If you ever been out straight, like in straight sun, no cover, no clouds whatsoever, you would understand.
slowly close your eyes and take what appear to be your last few breaths, you notice a white light appear in your vision. A light that is so bright and so inviting. And you hear a noise, an almost angelic noise. And before you get the chance to meet your maker, you are hit in the testicles by a rope ladder that was dropped on your raft. And you realize that this light was a spotlight from the same helicopter that dropped you off. And while the pain you are experiencing is unbearable, you realize that you and your friend are finally saved. You both climb the ladder and board the helicopter and feel like you have been given a second chance at life. As you both are flying home with the crew, the pilot asks you how your trip was and if you guys were able to enjoy the park that they left you in only a few miles out of town. And you and your friend look at each other and decide that it's better if you kept your stories to yourself and just told them you guys had fun, but that you wouldn't be returning anytime soon. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. If you enjoyed this video, check out the video on screen. It's a video I made about the worst times to...
Again, if you haven't already, subscribe to Trust Me Rose. Again, he's running the very goated YouTube channels out there. And yeah. Okay, next video. I think this one I said I was gonna watch next.
Something amazing is happening here. Teams have more power to...
Thank you to our Ko-fi supporters for helping us make this video. It's the year 1758.
Oh yeah, hold on, real quick. Okay, so when a man becomes a legend, Kamehameha the Great unifies Hawaii by series history. Again, I'm subscribed to my other channel, like the other video. So I'm gonna subscribe to him on like my second channel because again, he GOAT. understand animation takes forever to do, and this is from personal experience. So yeah, without further ado.
Alapa'i, the king of the island of Hawaii, is troubled as he watches Halley's Comet streak overhead in the night sky. His kahuna had warned him that a fiery light in the sky would mark the birth of a special child, one who would grow to become a slayer of chiefs and would rule not just his island, but all the surrounding islands as well. Days later, Alapa'i's fears only grow when he learns that his niece has given birth to a boy. Believing that this may be the child of prophecy, Alapa'i sends his men north to find and execute the baby. But word travels quickly, and before they can reach the village, the chiefess entrusts her son to a relative who takes the infant deep into the mountains to be raised alone and in secrecy. The boy survives, and at the age of 5, when he's discovered to still be alive, he's welcomed back to the royal court. Having endured a life in isolation, the boy's name is changed to Kamehameha, the Lonely One, and he's entrusted to his uncle Kalaniʻopuʻu, who's tasked with teaching him the ways of the warrior and keeping a close eye on him as he grows. King Alapa'i dies, and Kalaniʻopuʻu is made the new ruler of Hawaii. His kahuna tells him that Kamehameha seems to be filled with supernatural levels of mana, and will one day become a great warrior. Years pass, and the boy masters the Hawaiian martial arts, and grows to a towering 7 feet tall.
Also, fun fact, I'm not sure if this is true or not, but I think, isn't Hawaiian martial arts kind of like very brutal, where it's like it's designed to like break bones? I know like a long time ago, I've seen like a video of like these performers. Well, not performers, but like, you know, I'm just gonna say like native performers, like actually like go through like traditional like moveset. I'm not sure. I don't know why I say moveset like it's a video game, but like you guys get what I'm trying to say. I remember watching it and it was like, damn, like if anybody even gets caught in that, like you cooked. Like you're definitely leaving like a broken bone or 7.
At the age of 14, he lifts the legendary Naha Stone, which is said to grant the mana needed to conquer all the islands to the man who can move it. All signs point to Kamehameha actually being the child of prophecy, and many chiefs begin to take notice. Word spreads as far as the distant island of Kauai of a mighty warrior on Hawaii, but the Lonely One is content faithfully serving his uncle. But everything changes when strange ships appear off the coast that will change the course of history on the island forever.
Captain Cook.
It's November 1788, and natives throughout the islands are busy celebrating and giving thanks to their god Lono for the bountiful harvest. This sacred time of the year, known as Makahiki, was filled with feasts, hula, and games to thank the god and to prepare the islands for his long-awaited return. The villagers in Kalaniʻopuʻu's village are enjoying the festivities when suddenly in the distance they spot a strange canoe sailing towards them. They run to shore to get a better look, and they see that on the canoe is a giant cross draped with white cloth that's billowing in the wind. There is no mistake. This canoe matches descriptions that have been passed down through generations. At long last, Lono has finally returned. The strange canoe anchors in Kealakekua Bay, and renowned British explorer Captain James...
Also, real quick, isn't there like a Apple TV series on this right now, if I remember correctly? And I think, doesn't it have Jason Momoa in it? Again, like, if I'm correct, just say it in the comments or something when this video is like uploaded on YouTube, like proper. I'm not too sure.
Cook and his men board a small boat and row towards the crowd that's quickly amassing on the beach. As they take their first steps onto shore, the Hawaiians fall to their knees before these strange visitors. Kalaniʻopuʻu welcomes Captain Cook with great humility, and for a month, the king treats them to lavish meals and showers them with gifts worthy of a god. Cook and his men gladly accept the islanders' hospitality, and when they've restocked their supplies, they thank their hosts and set sail to explore the northern Pacific. The Hawaiians rowed their canoes next to the ships, escorting them away from the island, and waved to the explorers as their ships disappeared over the horizon. Their hearts were filled with gratitude that Lono had finally returned to celebrate Makahiki with them. Everything was perfect, until Cook came back. Sailing north, Cook's ships are caught in a storm, and he's forced to return to Hawaii for repairs. They sail back into Kealakekua Bay, and the welcome they receive this time is much different. Makahiki season was over, and the islanders wonder, why is Lono back again? The Hawaiians grow suspicious. Perhaps this man isn't Lono after all. Feeling deceived, they refuse to help Cook repair his ship and begin to aggressively pick fights with his crew. In response, Cook's men begin stealing supplies from the Hawaiians, and the Hawaiians retaliate by stealing a small boat the explorers were using to row to shore. For Cook, this was the last straw. If the natives will not cooperate willingly, then he will force them to. Early in the morning on Valentine's Day 1779, Cook and his men walk into the village and demand that Kalaniʻopuʻu come with them. Groggy and confused, the king rubs his eyes and takes Cook's hand, unaware of what's happening. As they walk back towards the British ship, one of the king's wives cries out for them to stop. Her voice alerts nearby chiefs, who quickly realize something is wrong. Cook and his men begin rushing the king toward their boat, while the chiefs shout for Kalaniʻopuʻu to stop and sit. A kahuna emerges holding a coconut and begins chanting aggressively at Cook. His words echo through the village, and the commotion draws everyone out to the shore. Kamehameha and his fellow warriors rush to join the crowd, weapons in hand, ready to fight. Cook orders his men to line the shore. They draw their rifles and aim into the crowd. A standoff ensues, with the Hawaiians growing angrier and angrier that their king is not being returned. A warrior steps forward and menacingly points his weapon at Cook, and on instinct, the captain draws his pistol and fires. The Hawaiians begin throwing stones at the explorers, and one of the Marines is knocked to the ground. Cook fires another shot into the crowd, this time killing one of the warriors. Enraged, the Hawaiians lunge at the captain, and his men open fire into the mob. Some of their musket balls find their mark, but before they can reload, the Hawaiian warriors have swarmed Cook and have forced him to the ground. As he tries to struggle to his feet, he's stabbed and clubbed to death. Cook's ship opens fire on the crowd, and the cannon fire quickly scatters the Hawaiians. The surviving sailors row back to their ships and leave the island for good. Though the brawl was short, Kamehameha was shaken by the sheer power of these foreign weapons. Cook's men were few, but if an army with these weapons were to return, would their warriors stand a chance? He thinks of the people who live on islands near them. They shared the same history, the same blood, but they have been at war with each other for generations. Divided like this, they will all fall. Someone must unite them so they can stand together as one. Silently, Kamehameha decides that when the time is right, he will be the one to do it.
Let's see. Is your goal brain function? Oh, mitochondria. Not dying from one of the big four killers? Mitochondria.
In 1782, King Kalaniʻopuʻu passes away. He leaves his kingdom to his son Kivalao and gives his nephew Kamehameha guardianship of the god of war Ku and control of Waipio Valley. Tensions instantly break out over who's the ruler of the land. The one with the blessing of Ku is the one who actually has the power to conquer all, and this convinces 5 warrior chiefs that Kamehameha is truly the child of prophecy. They pledge their loyalty to him, and to the new king of Hawaii, this is a direct challenge to the throne. His brother Keoua retaliates by cutting down sacred coconut trees in Kamehameha's land and killing some of his men, who he sacrifices to the gods for his brother. This act cannot go unpunished, so Kamehameha assembles his army and marches into Kivalao's land. As Kamehameha's forces march through villages on their way to confront the king, women and children rush to seek shelter in protected sanctuaries, knowing that war on this island spares no one. Kivalao gets word of this invasion, and he takes his army out to meet Kamehameha. The armies cross paths on a rocky field near Kealakekua Bay. The warriors taunt each other as kahuna on both sides begin chanting, calling upon the gods to grant them mana needed to secure victory. Now,
Type shit. You out here trying to make sure everybody got good debuffs.
Now blessed by the gods, war cries fill the air and the armies charge each other. Kamehameha and his chiefs lead their army from the front lines and rush to engage Kivalao's men. Combat is up close and brutal. Shark's tooth daggers tear into the flesh of their enemies. Skulls are crushed by heavy clubs, and spears impale warriors caught off guard. In the chaos, Keoua, Kivalao's brother, cuts down many of Kamehameha's men, challenging all who dare face him. In the heat of battle, one of Kamehameha's chiefs, a man named Kameamoku, is struck and falls to the ground. His bright feathered cape broadcasts his nobility for all to see, and it quickly draws the attention of Kivalao. The king marches towards the fallen chief, weapon ready to finish him off. But just as he nears, a stone from one of Kamehameha's slingers slams into Kivalao's head, dropping him to his knees. Kameamoku crawls toward him and slits his throat with a shark-toothed dagger. Kivalao is dead, and his army retreats. Kamehameha removes the blood-stained royal cloak from the former ruler's body and lifts it for all to see, officially claiming his lands. But the deceased king's brother would not give up the island of Hawaii so easily. For the next decade, Kamehameha and Keoua wage a bitter war. Keoua wins many of the battles, and the island remains divided. Kamehameha's chiefs insist he is still the child of prophecy and that they will ultimately win, but doubt creeps in. How can he unite all the islands if he can't even conquer his own? He needs help, a blessing from the gods to tip the scales of this war in his favor. and the gods answer his prayers in the most unexpected way. Cook's discovery of the Sandwich Isles had literally put Hawaii on the map, and by 1790, traders en route across the Pacific had begun making stops to resupply and do business. Hearing news of this land, two American trading ships, the Eleonora, commanded by Simon Metcalf, and the Fair American, commanded by his son Thomas Metcalf, set out for the islands. The larger ship, the Eleonora, is the first to arrive and drops anchor in Kauai Bay, an area governed by Kamehameha's loyal chief Kamehamoku, the guy who slit the previous king's throat. The chief boards the ship to greet the traders, and though we don't know exactly what he did, it was evidently something that Simon found so offensive that he has the chief tied up and flogs him as punishment. The Eleonora quickly departs Hawaii and sails to the island of Maui, where the locals there steal one of Simon's rowboats and disassemble it for its nails. Furious, the captain invites the...
Damn. Damn. Got that Detroit treatment.
Villagers to come aboard his ship to trade. The natives load their canoes with food and goods and begin to paddle out towards the Eleonora. As they approach the ship, Simon commands his men to open fire, and cannonballs tear into the unsuspecting villagers, killing 100 of them and injuring 100 more. At the very same time, back on Hawaii Island, Simon's son Thomas, completely unaware of the horrible things his father has been doing, arrives in Kauai Bay aboard the Fair American, ready to trade. Kamehamoku, who was still seething from the humiliation of the flogging by Simon Metcalf, boards the Fair American with his men and kills Thomas and nearly the entire crew. The only survivor is a man named Isaac Davis, whose courage in fighting back against the warriors had impressed the chief enough to spare his life. The Hawaiians loot the Fair American and take its cannon.
It's like, okay, you fight good for a white person, so you want to leave, we're going to spare you. Well, I'm pretty sure they're thinking along the lines.
Weapons and supplies and drag Davis back to their village as prisoner. Kamehamoku sends word south to Kamehameha about what's happened at Kauai, and at the same time, Simon Metcalf returns to Hawaii and anchors near Kamehameha's village. Fearing retaliation for the attack on the Fair American, Kamehameha orders every one of his people to stop trading and avoid the ship entirely. Simon Metcalf sends a man named John Young to shore to ask about the whereabouts of the Fair American, and fearing he may discover the truth, Kamehameha captures him and holds him prisoner. A day passes, and unaware that Young had been captured, Simon Metcalf begins firing his cannons as a signal for the sailor to return to the ship. As the thunder of cannon fire echoes through the village, Kamehameha grows concerned that he'll soon need to lead his men into battle against these invaders and their terrible weapons. The chief and his warriors stand ready, but no one leaves the ship. By the next morning, Metcalf is done waiting. He assumes Young is off playing with the villagers and decides to strand him on the island as punishment. The Eleonora sets sail for China, never to return, and Simon Metcalf never learns of what happened to his son. Soon after, Kamehamoku brings Isaac Davis to Kamehameha's village where he meets John Young. The two foreigners are given a choice. Okay, I think he's saying we should teach him how to use these weapons? What if we don't? Okay, so first thing you want to do is swab the barrel. Gotta make sure there's no embers in there. Davis and Young began training Kamehameha and his men on how to operate their new weapons, and over time, the two foreigners developed a deep respect for the chief. They learned to speak Hawaiian and eventually become his loyal advisors. Now armed with Western weapons.
Hey, they got converted, bro. He's like, fuck it, we stuck here, so we might as well make the best of it.
And a ship of his own, Kamehameha feels the time has come, and he sets out to challenge the most powerful man in all the islands. While Kamehameha was fighting for control of the island of Hawaii, the great king of Maui, Kahekili, had conquered the island of Oahu and now ruled over almost the entire island chain. He was an imposing figure, with half of his body tattooed from head to toe. His conquest of the islands had been brutal, and all who had resisted met gruesome ends. Kahekili established his new seat of power on Oahu and entrusted his homeland of Maui to his son, the prince Kalanikupule. Kamehameha saw this shift in power as his moment to strike. He and 5,000 of his warriors board war canoes and set sail for the island of Maui. Landing in Kahului, they march inland towards Wailuku, where they find Kalanikupule and his army standing ready to meet them. The formalities of war quickly begin as both sides prepare themselves for battle. The kahunas chant their last words, and war cries pierce the air as the two armies barrel towards each other. As the Maui warriors rush forward, Kamehameha's men fire a volley of musket balls.
They brought a knife to a gunfight.
balls that rip into Kalani'Kupule's front line. The prince watches his men fall and is appalled that Kamehameha has stooped to using foreign weapons against fellow islanders. He urges his men to fight, and they charge to meet the invaders. Blood sprays across the battlefield as the warriors clash with shark-toothed daggers, spears, and clubs. For 2 days, neither side could gain the upper hand. On the third day, Kamehameha summons his newest royal advisors to the battlefield, and they bring out a weapon Kalani'Kupule's men had never seen before. As the warriors of Maui watched the strange white men take position, a thunderous explosion echoed through the valley. Young and Davis fire the cannon taken from the fair American directly at Kalani'Kupule's unsuspecting forces. The cannonball tears through his ranks as the prince stood frozen, horrified by its destructive power. Kamehameha's men follow with a round of musket fire, and more of his warriors fall around him. The cannon continues to pound the warriors of Maui, and the prince, now taking heavy casualties, is forced to pull his men back deeper and deeper into the
No, this is the point where you just like get like a musket and just like snipe his ass.
Iao Valley, with Kamehameha stalking them like a predator chasing wounded prey. The Maui forces are pushed back to Iao Stream, and with no other options, they make their last stand. Young and Davis fire their cannons again and again, and within hours, Kalani'Kupule's army is completely obliterated. Their ravaged bodies are thrown into the water behind them, and they pile up in numbers so great the river itself slows to a trickle stained red with blood. When the smoke clears, Kamehameha's forces stare out at a massive bodies and name this battle Kepanivai, the damming of the waters. In the chaos, Kalani'Kupule manages to sneak away and sails back to Oahu to raise another army. Kamehameha boards his canoes ready to follow him, but just as he's about to leave, he receives word that his land in Hawaii is once again under attack from Keaua. Kamehameha realizes before he can conquer Oahu, he must stomp out this uprising in his home once and for all. He and his warriors voyage back to Hawaii, and they quickly clash with Keaua's forces. But once again, Kamehameha is unable to secure a decisive victory, and the rebels retreat through the Kau Desert that skirts the Kilauea volcano. As the exhausted army trudges through the wasteland, a deep rumbling from beneath their feet grows louder and louder. Suddenly, the earth splits open and lava erupts all around them. The air is filled with poisonous gases, and many of Kiowa's men collapse, gasping for air. Others try to continue onward, casting footprints in the molten lava that had surrounded them.
Ooh.
Nearly his entire army was wiped out by the eruption, and now it seemed that even
I'll be honest, if that wasn't a sign, I don't know what is.
Pele, the goddess of fire, had chosen Kamehameha as the true ruler of the island. The following year, Kamehameha offers a peace treaty to the defeated prince. Keoua knows his cousin was not someone who would offer such a thing, but resigned to defeat, he accepts the invitation, and just as he expected, upon arrival, he and his men are executed on the spot. I knew it.
It's in the feeling, the sound.
Hey, at least he went out like a man. He resigned himself to his fate.
Kamehameha is now king of Hawaii Island, and Kahekili recognizes him as a serious threat. Both kings begin preparations for the inevitable clash. They trade for stockpiles of Western weapons and forge alliances with foreign powers to support them in the coming war. But before Kahekili is able to attack Hawaii, he dies, and his empire is split between his two sons, Kalani'Kupule and Kaeokulani. Both brothers believe they deserve the entire empire, and they go to war with each other for full control of their father's lands. Their armies suffer heavy losses, and in the end, Kaeokulani is killed in battle. Kalani'Kupule becomes the sole successor to the great Kahekili, but he is severely weakened. Kamehameha knows that this was the opportunity he'd been waiting for. He'd already defeated Kalani'Kupule once at Kapanivai. The time to unite the islands is now. So, in 1795, Kamehameha sets sail with 10,000 warriors, and they arrive on the shores of Oahu near Waikiki. Large, powerful tattooed men wearing loincloths push modern cannons to shore. Chiefs adorned with feather capes inspect their muskets, preparing for battle. To a time traveler, the army is one that seems lost in time. They spend a few days gathering supplies in Waikiki and then head west in search for Kalani'Kupule. They soon find his army, dug in at a defensive position near the mountain Puawaina, the hill of human sacrifice.
Honestly, I feel like this is the same thing with like the Aztecs and like the Portuguese, where like you got these not primitive but like technologically, I don't know, we got these sort of societies where like metal and like iron and stuff were like not very utilized, and they used more like natural stuff like sharp stones and again teeth and stuff. I don't know where I'm going with this, but like it's still weird seeing like natives that should have never have seen like any sort of like iron tools or like muskets and stuff just come out of nowhere with like just modern weapons and stuff for the time period. It's fascinating to me. I might watch like Aztec video after this. I'm pretty sure I saw one of my recommended videos list.
Known today as Punch Bowl Crater. Over the past 5 years, Kamehameha hasn't just adopted Western weapons into his army, he had absorbed Western military strategy as well. He sends half of his men to flank Kalanikupule while he creates a diversion and engages them in a frontal assault. But before he can issue his commands, explosions ring out in the distance and cannonballs crash down near Kamehameha's forces. He looks up and spots a familiar face. Once a trusted ally, the chief Kaiana had defected and was now fighting for the enemy. Kamehameha gives the signal, and Davis and Young answer back with a thunderous cannon barrage of their own. His warriors charge forward towards Kaiana's position. The battlefield becomes a blend of old and new. Kamehameha's warriors push their spears forward in a European pike formation, while cannons and muskets ring out behind them. Other fighters break free to engage in brutal hand-to-hand combat with ancient weapons. Kaiana and Kalanikupule are pushed back to a secondary defensive position where more cannons are waiting. As Kamehameha's men charge, they're hit with heavy fire and take serious casualties. The defenders celebrate the small victory. Though they're outnumbered, Kaiana thinks they may be able to pull off the upset. But suddenly, war cries break out behind him. Kamehameha's flanking army had finally arrived. They hit the defenders hard, and the Oahu cannons are caught completely off guard. Kaiana turns to fight off the attackers, and in the chaos, Davis takes aim and sends a cannonball directly at the traitor chief, blowing a hole through his chest. Kalanikupule is also injured and flees the battlefield. His army falls.
Imagine if I think you have the upper hand and then you just get like your shit pushed in by like a big ass cannon.
Falls into disarray and they begin to run. Kamehameha's men show no mercy, chasing the fleeing warriors through Nu'uanu Valley all the way to a cliff. With nowhere to run, the last of Kalanikupule's army are pushed closer and closer to the edge. Realizing that all hope is lost, many begin jumping off the cliff in a desperate attempt to escape. A few try to fight back, only to find themselves pushed off by force. When the last of the Oahu warriors had fallen, Kamehameha's men looked down below and named the battle Kalele Ka'anae, the leaping mullet, after the men who voluntarily leapt to their end. A century later, during the construction of the Pali Highway, 800 skulls of those warriors were discovered at the base of this cliff. Kalanikupule goes into hiding but is eventually found and sacrificed to the gods by Kamehameha, officially ending the Kingdom of Maui. Now only the island of Kauai remained free of his rule. For the next 15 years, Kamehameha attempted to invade and conquer the island, but is repeatedly stopped by the forces of nature. First, a storm sinks his canoes and forces him to turn back. On his second attempt, an outbreak of cholera wipes out a large part of his army before they could even set sail. In 1810, as he prepared for his third invasion attempt, the king of Kauai, Kamuali'i, realizes that war would only lead to more bloodshed and offers his island as a vassal state to the king. Under the guidance of his kahuna, the Lonely One accepted this offer and made peace with Kauai.
Type shit, I respect that. But hold on, what's this? I think I spoke a little too soon.
His chiefs, on the other hand, hated this idea and decided in secret that they should still kill the guy just in case. Isaac Davis personally found this betrayal revolting and goes to warn the king of Kauai, who decides to skip the celebratory feast and immediately sails back home, leaving the chiefs with all that poison but no one to use it on. Okay, Davis, since our royal guest from Kauai didn't show up, I guess you can be the lucky one to eat his specially prepared royal food instead. What makes it special? Oh, you'll see. Drink up. Davis mysteriously died of poisoning that night, but after nearly 30 years of war, Kamehameha had finally fulfilled the prophecy of his childhood. After centuries of war, peace had finally come to the islands, and for the first time, they were united as one. He names his new kingdom the Kingdom of Hawaii after his home island, and in just a few decades, his descendants, the royal house of Kamehameha, transformed the humble kingdom into a modern world power recognized as equals by the great kings and queens of the world. Though the Hawaiian monarchy was ultimately illegally overthrown and annexed by the
Yeah, see, that's a whole other story. I'm pretty sure it has to do with like the Banana Republic in the area and how they wanted to take the land in order to use it for like crop production. But that's how that's another story for another day.
United States in 1893, the legacy of Kamehameha the Great lives on, and he's still celebrated.
Yeah, if you know anything about the Dole Corporation that makes like the bananas and the fruit cups and all that, yeah, you understand how what's the word? Ruthless they are. But like, yeah, so again, that was a good video by Serious History. Again, if you haven't liked and subscribed. Again, I know it means everything to him because I honestly can't imagine how long it took to make this 20-something minute video. I'm pretty sure you got a team, but like still. It probably took like a month or two in order to make it. What else is there? This one looks interesting.
Hey teachers, we're clearing classroom wish lists. We're giving one teacher one big gift card.
Useless ancient instincts we all still.
Also, real quick. So, useless ancient instincts you still fight today, but trust me, bro. Again, like the last video, make sure you like and subscribe because again, it helps the creator make more videos like this and also shows your interest in it. And also, if you haven't, not sure if I said this or not, like and subscribe. Because, yeah, you guys know I kind of need it. And without further ado.
Useless ancient instincts we all still have. As much as we like to believe that as a species we are civilized and technologically advanced, in reality, a lot of modern day society and our day-to-day life is still heavily influenced and, quite honestly, controlled by primal instincts, deeply ingrained in our brains over hundreds of thousands of years of human development. But in this video, we're going to discuss examples of primal instincts that were helpful at the time that today are quite useless or, in some cases, making our lives harder. Let's get started. I would guarantee that most people watching this video, if not everybody watching this video, enjoys a sweet treat. And while some of us enjoy a sweet treat guilt-free, some of us also feel bad that we quite often crave such sugary things that we know.
It's natural to crave sugars, but like to a certain extent, because again, we're mammals. Mammals literally evolved because of fruit. And since fruit is naturally sweet, we crave it. It's for our like evolutionary advantage because again there's a lot of calories in a small package, which also helps like brain function. Again, don't quote me on this, I'm not no expert, I'm not no biologist or nothing, but like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I picked this up from like Lindsay Nicole. If you haven't seen that channel, make sure I might watch one or two of her videos because I'm more like sciencey history sort of person. I like real life, even though like my job is like to look at a screen all day and like talking to like a camera. But like, yeah,
aren't good for us. But the reason most of us crave such sugar.
Also, wait, so for that last part, processed sugars are bad for us, but like natural fructose sugars that come naturally from like from natural sources are good for us.
And sweet foods and drinks was at one point in time crucial for our survival. During the ancient prehistoric days of humanity, food was a luxury and likely the most valuable currency. And it's for that reason that humans were really eating anything and everything they could get their hands on. But not all foods are built the same. Eating bugs and leaves is cool, but nothing quite hits the spot to a caveman like something extremely sweet or something extremely fatty. And the reason for this is simple. Sugar specifically is extremely valuable to the body because it gives your body a quick boost of energy, something that many foods aren't able to provide. And because of this, your body responded extremely positive to this food source that was able to give you such a quick hit of energy. Even if your body wasn't in dire need of energy at the time, your body is able to store that excess energy in the form of fat, meaning that
Oh, trust me, I know all about that. I think I got a little bit too much.
anytime, at any place, if there was anything sweet around, your body knew to consume it there and then. And at the time, this could have meant life or death. Now, unfortunately, the stakes today are not nearly as high. And I would say that most people, if not everybody watching this video, does not struggle with food scarcity either at all or definitely not to the extent that cavemen did. Meaning that eating the bag of gummy bears on your nightstand isn't life or death. It's really just how much willpower do you have to overcome your primal urges. In today's world, eating anything sweet you can get your hands on almost has the opposite effect. Because at best, this excess sugar is just going to put extra weight on your body. And at worst, it's actually going to have a detrimental effect on your overall health.
Diabetes.
The complete opposite of the intent of this instinct in primal times. So if you ever feel bad about having low discipline when it comes to sweets, it's because a caveman hundreds of thousands of years ago realized that berries and honey give you a kick of energy that bugs, leaves, and animal fats just couldn't do. Oh, and as a quick bonus, the reason why everything in the world today is so sugary is directly related to the human instinct of craving excess sugar. Humans don't crave sugar because...
Also, corn. Corn and beet sugar are one of the most, like, I'm not sure how to put it, but like those are like the main sources of like processed sugars, and well, at least in the U.S. that you can get. Because before then we used to use sugarcane, which honestly sugarcane is 1,000 times better. I mean, again, don't quote me on this, but like my opinion, I think sugarcane is like one of the best natural sources of sugar besides like fruits. Because again, I forgot, like if you ever had like a Coke in a glass bottle compared to like one in like a plastic bottle, like there's a night and day difference. And that's because again, cane sugar is like it's processed, but like it's minimally processed compared to like beet sugar, which got to go through like a huge process in order to make it like palatable or something like that. Again, don't quote me on this.
Because everything in the modern diet is full of sugar because these companies realized long ago that humans...
This is more of an American thing than anything. Obviously, this is like Walmart. Like, I'm too American not to know that this is Walmart. And also, hold on. Let me get a pack of that. Let me get some Sour Patch Kids. What else is in there? Strawberries for sure. Maybe some Skittles. You can, the Milk Duds can kind of fuck off. Those are all right, but they're hit and miss. Oh, those are good. Not the white fudge ones, but like the peanut butter ones and the chocolate ones. Those ones are good. And then you got some Mike and Ike's. Oh, those are some classics right there.
Fundamentally crave sugar. And if these food companies can provide it to you, you're very unlikely to say no. And that's another trend you'll notice in this video.
Funny thing is, I go to the grocery store like tomorrow morning. So like, I'm just kind of like low-key kind of hungry.
Not only are your instincts personally working against yourself, but other entities are using your instincts against you for profit, which is kind of dystopian. Another more dystopian part of modern day life is the fact that even though we are living in the best time ever to exist as a human, we likely deal with the most issues ever. And this is because humans have a deeply ingrained negative bias, which, like you guessed, in primal times served a crucial purpose in our survival. But in the modern day, in a world full of complexity, it only makes our life that was supposed to be easier much harder. I would argue that most people understand that they should be grateful for everything they have in their life. But realistically, gratitude is something you kind of have to remind yourself to have and do. And this is because your mind isn't naturally programmed to be like, oh, this is so great, this is awesome. No, your mind is actually programmed for the opposite. The ancient primal world was filled with real immediate dangers, natural disasters, predators, other tribes, famine, and so forth. You and your loved ones' lives were consistently under attack. And because of this, the best way to survive in a world where everything could and would kill you is to be aware of those things and to primarily focus on the negative or dangerous aspects of life, which at the time was a lot more common than anything else. And while this bias as a caveman was extremely crucial, in the modern day where almost none of these threats exist, we are still dealing with the
Oh, don't say that. There's definitely people out there that will harm you and your family if given a chance.
consequences of this bias. Just think about it. If there was two cavemen in prehistoric times, one who went on a walk and saw, oh, there's a dangerous thing, I'm not going to go there. Oh, I stepped on something sharp, this place could be dangerous. I'm going to go home and remember this and just, keep this in the back of my mind. Versus a caveman that went on a walk and was just like, oh, that's a pretty tree. Oh, cool. That's a cool looking lion running directly towards me. That's majestic. Which of the two do you think is going to survive? And I mean, the answer is kind of obvious. But like I mentioned, tiger attacks and starvation are fortunately not much of a risk for many people today. So we transition this worry and this part of our brain onto other aspects of more modern life. Job security, social status, rejection, failure, the opinions of others. And because the world that we live in is just so complex and there is so much to think about, and because the negativity bias is an instinct so deeply ingrained within our psyche, if you don't consciously try to counteract this negativity bias, it could lead to some very serious consequences. And it's extremely easy to spiral into overthinking and stressing and, coming up with worst case scenarios and ultimately developing things such as anxiety or depression. And a common example of this negativity bias is, once we lay down on our bed bed and close our eyes, all of a sudden every horrible thing that happened to us ever comes to mind. Keep in mind,
Yeah, you ever just like try to fall asleep at like 2 in the morning and then you just remember something you did in like the 6th grade? Like just totally random. And then like it just keeps you up at night. Oh, just me? Oh, okay.
ancient times, before you go to bed, it's helpful to have a checklist of everything you notice today that could be bad, but in modern times, it's just going to make going to bed harder and possibly damage your self-esteem. And if that was the first time you've ever done something like that, then you probably experienced a lot of fear, specifically fear of the unknown.
Hey, if you're a gun owner who wants to shoot better, then you're going to need to see this. It's the new Vanish laser strike training system, and it is all.
You don't need all that. You just need a training range and like some metal post.
Which is likely one of the oldest human instincts we all have to this very day. Our ancestors had to essentially trial and error every aspect of life always, and the stakes were typically life or death. And because of this, the best way to mitigate as much risk as possible was to simply stick with what you know and avoid what you didn't know, which led to the development of the fear of the unknown. During ancient times, exploring a place that was dark and you couldn't quite see, encountering an animal that you were unfamiliar with, or even seeing weather that you haven't
No. Shut it on himself.
quite seen before, all could very well lead to the death of you and anybody around you. Meaning that the best way to stay alive was to avoid and fear any of these things you were unfamiliar with. And this instinct is still around to this very day.
It really is. But at the same time, it's like sometimes you just gotta live. You gotta live your life. You can't always be in fear. Even if it is the unknown. Sometimes you just gotta venture in there. But at the same time, don't just recklessly venture.
But once again, in modern times, this instinct isn't helpful and is often counterproductive. And while I would definitely say that there is an argument for the fear of the unknown being helpful today, there is still places where it isn't helpful. Specifically when it comes to exploring opportunities that could ultimately be beneficial. Like, let's say, starting a new relationship, trying a new food, going to a new city, moving, meeting new people. In the modern day, when things are so safe and so civilized, there are so many amazing opportunities to come out of exploring the unknown and seeking discomfort and truly trying to overcome this instinct. But the reality is just that. This is an instinct that has to be overcome to experience these things. And because of this, there is a saying that I think is rather accurate, is that most people would rather experience a familiar hell than an unknown heaven. And it's interesting because even though in that hypothetical that the unknown situation would be objectively better, because it's unknown, it's still scarier than dealing with something objectively worse that you're at least familiar with. But it wasn't only the unknown that our ancestors were afraid of. There was actually quite a few fears that our ancestors hold that we still hold today. Another example being the fear of failure. Now, once again, there is instances where this fear is still helpful in the modern day, but as a whole, the exaggerated fear of failure is more detrimental to people than it is helpful. In ancient times, goals were simple and immediate. If you were on a hunt, your goal was to secure an animal. If you're looking to reproduce, your goal is to secure a mate. If you're looking for shelter, your goal is to find a warm and comfortable place. And in all of these instances, if you failed to meet your goal, your life or your bloodline was done. And those stakes are pretty high. And over hundreds of thousands of years of development, our brain began to realize that if we really want something, we cannot accept failure as an option. And while in the modern day, many of our goals are not life or death at all, a lot of people still act like them. Doing worse on an assignment than you anticipated, not getting the promotion you wanted, having an application denied for
Oh my God. It's a job application. Oh no, get this shit out of here.
almost anything. All of these things are uncomfortable and upsetting, but in most cases, they are not life or death. Although some people still act like they are, but it is so ingrained in our being to have that exaggerated fear of failing that typically only holds us back and will cause us to feel a sense of dread when in reality the situation may be mildly infuriating or potentially disappointing, but definitely not life or death. But another consequence of failure in ancient times beyond just immediate death was also a loss of social status. You see, humans have always been tribal people, pack animals if you will. And within packs or groups, there is a hierarchy. And within hierarchies, there is status, which determines where you stand on the food chain. In ancient times, we were extremely motivated to seek status, not to satisfy our egos, but to ensure our survival. Because in ancient tribes, the higher status individuals typically got the most benefits, the best shelter, the most food, and so on. And the opposite was also true. If you were low status in the tribe, you would be getting scraps. You would be living in the worst of places. And in severe situations, you would be out.
I don't know. That sounds like a skill issue right there, man.
right outcast from the group, essentially being left for dead. And for that reason, it's reasonable to understand why seeking social status was so important in prehistoric times. But as we all know, this is not a habit that's gone away. And in modern times, people seek status more than ever, while, interestingly, the stakes are much lower.
Oh yeah, I remember that whole fiasco. Didn't Asamongo literally just talk about this? I mean, when it happened, like he was talking about it, because didn't he pay somebody to play his account and then pretend like it was his because he wanted just to show out? I don't know. Elon is weird.
Are much lower. Sure, in the modern day, there is so many benefits to having status.
But like
celebrities, for example,
not like super malicious, but like in a weird tech billionaire sort of way.
have access to the best of everything. They get treated better than everybody else. They can afford everything and still get things for free. And there are definitely benefits to that in the modern day. Although I would argue it doesn't guarantee your survival anymore. Because in the modern day, you don't need social status to live. An entry-level job, a simple side hustle, or even a small business are all things that could
yes, totally a small business right there.
sustain you and provide you a comfortable and potentially even abundant life, with status being completely out of the equation. And sure, this drive for status could still give you a better life, but it also could send you on a completely meaningless pursuit that at the end of your life you realize wasn't worth it at all. And I would say in most cases, this drive is almost solely egoic and not survival focused. And I think one of the most common instances that we all experience in regards to this drive for status is how we compare ourselves to others consistently. In a world full of social media, we are force-fed other people's lives on a daily basis. And typically that experience looks like, wow, they're doing better than me. And the reason we do this is because we are perceiving them to be higher status than us. And it means that we are at risk of being evicted from the group and getting less than we may need to survive. And
hold on. 14-piece chicken, 2 large size, 7 biscuit. Honestly, okay, don't come at me, but like this is actually a good like deal on like some Popeye chicken. I'll be honest with you, because normally without a coupon it's like $30 something. Like, don't ask how I know that. And I already know there's somebody in the comments just after like this video was like uploaded, just commented like, well, like who is this? Well, like yeah, like I'll definitely use that coupon
to survive. And as we know, this mindset of comparison and seeing ourselves as less than others who only present the best parts of their life typically leads to anxiety, depression, and many of the other common consequences of having a primal brain in an extremely advanced world. Which is why I believe...
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like I mean, technically right now, even though we have all these monitoring conveniences and stuff at our fingertips, especially like our phones and like all that, we're still the primitive beings from like a few thousand years ago. We haven't changed that much like evolutionarily. It's just that we have been introduced to so many different like stimuli, like where everything is pretty much just like instant, like that, which kind of like our psyche has not like caught up with that just yet. We're still in what's the word for it? Again, our psyche is trying to catch up with the rapid change of like our environment and how where we don't have to immediately, like you said before, like we don't have to immediately fight for like our immediate survival or have to worry about animal threats as often. And like you said, we shift over to like superficial things that don't necessarily matter for survival, but they matter to us. But like, yeah, like I'll be honest, like the best thing to do, like I did, get off of most social media. Like YouTube is okay up to a certain degree, but at the same time, I mean, I hate to say it, but like I've kind of fell into this like category too many times. I know other people have too, but like sometimes you gotta just stop looking at like certain videos on YouTube or like shorts of people literally running around like Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Rolls Royces and stuff. People in these big old houses and stuff literally don't have to really lift a finger in their life. They make thousands of dollars a day without even having to really think. That really like puts like a strain on like your mental health, because you wonder like, damn, like I'm literally like a few years older than him and I literally have like not even a tenth of the like his asses. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm pretty sure you guys know what I'm trying to talk about. It's just like, stop comparing yourself to others. Stop looking at social media like that, because it's really not there to help you. It's there just to compare you with others and make you feel down. Like, yeah, again, there's good things to it to where you can keep up with people's lives, make sure you know what's going on. But at the same time, it's like, don't over engross yourself in it. Sometimes you just gotta tell yourself no and just like shut off the thing for the night, because I know it's so easy to just like pick it up and just like get a quick hit of dopamine. And because you're feeling sad or anxious or kind of, like you said, depressed, or you feel like you're a little worried, and or you just like, you're just bored, it's so easy just to pick up the phone and just like look at a screen for 5 seconds and instantly feel better or just feel entertained, which is kind of, again, like I said, it's doing a number on our psyche. We're not fully evolved for all that. We're still primitive.
This drive to be completely useless, if not counterproductive, because in most cases you just feel worse about yourself, even though you are completely capable of surviving and having a meaningful and happy life. But even if you don't crave being a high status individual, you typically at the very least crave fitting in. Which brings us to the next ancient instinct, the human impulse of adopting a herd mentality. As we just mentioned in the previous instinct, humans in tribes were safer, and humans on their own were not. And while climbing the social ladder is one goal, even maintaining where you are is an entirely separate goal.
Step into Wix Studio and handle every part of your build from one platform.
The human brain evolved in tribes and closely monitored the group, copying all of their behavior because they see that these other people are alive, so they're going to do what these other living, surviving people are doing, because that's really the ultimate goal. And because of that, most people were on the same page. While at the same time, individuals who showed attributes that weren't directly in line with the tribe, whether it be doing something that resulted in their instant death or simply doing something that the tribe didn't approve of, let's say not reciprocating sharing food or not contributing, would result in being exiled, which was essentially a death sentence. If you notice that everybody does one thing and the people who don't do that thing either die or get kicked out of the group, you're going to quickly learn that it's best to do what everybody else is doing and not stray too far from that. In prehistoric times, it meant coexistence. But once again, today, the stakes are not nearly as high. But that doesn't stop our brain from trying to keep us in line with the greater group. Everybody in one shape or another fears rejection. Whether it be talking to somebody you find attractive, trying to sell something, or simply trying to find a place that you belong. Nobody wants to be told no or
Okay, at a certain, okay, yeah, I get it with the herd mentality thing. Like, at a certain point, you just gotta stop caring what the fuck other people say. Because especially in this day and age, it's not even worth it, because you're literally just adding extra stress onto yourself for no reason. And 9 times out of 10, it's over something fucking stupid or superficial. Again, I'll be honest, I'm probably in that category of people that just kind of like don't follow the status quo and just kind of do whatever they want to do, regardless of what everybody else thinks. Because I'm not a big fan of like doing I like trends, don't get me wrong, but like I don't like every trend. And like if there's something I think that's wrong and everybody keeps on agreeing with, I would speak my mind. I'm not too afraid up to a certain degree. I mean, obviously I'm not going to say something like stupid into like a crowd of people and just like get like my ass beat. But I'm not going to sit there and just pretend like everything's all right when it's obviously not. But at the same time, like, while that is, I don't know where I'm going with this. But like I said before, like, you guys kind of get what I'm saying. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe I'm just rambling on, just yapping and shit. Who knows? But like all that monkey see, monkey do bullshit, I don't care for that. I like my own individuality. I'm not really that much of a sheep. Like I will follow trends, especially in a situation where like it's imperative. But like if it's not, I'm not. I'd rather be myself than to fake and pretend to be something I'm not. It's not me personally.
That they don't fit in. And this is something that we experience from a very young age and most people carry through the rest of their life. And while herd mentality can manifest itself in
you gotta stop worrying, because people are going to hate you regardless of what you do, say, or think. Literally, you could do nothing. A lot of times you could do nothing wrong and somebody's just going to hate on you just to hate on you. So in reality, it really isn't that important to really overthink like, oh, does X, Y, and Z like me? Do they like me? Just go with it. Because the minute you start worrying and start doubting yourself, that shows your own weakness and shows that you're very insecure about yourself. Which is like kind of fleeting nowadays. Everybody's not everybody's confident. Not everybody got that in them. But like, yeah, it ain't worth it.
lot of ways, it's most commonly experienced by simply not wanting to stand out or make too many waves or rock the boat. So if you ever feel bad about your desire to fit in and want to be somebody else or want to have other attributes so you could be more like others, it's not that you hate yourself or it's not that you're wrong. It's simply the biology of your brain telling you that if you are more like others, you will have a higher chance of living. And while that's not really the case today, your brain doesn't really know the difference. And similar to our fear of the unknown, this herd mentality in most cases in the modern time holds us back rather than protects us. We stop ourselves from pursuing the things we truly love or doing things we really want to do. It stops us from taking risks or doing things that seem out of the norm. The goal of this herd mentality is to keep us alive, not happy. And what that looks like today is simply doing something that you know is safe even if you don't like to do it, because doing the thing you want to do might not give you that same safe result. And that
Yeah, in certain situations, yeah, like I said before, you should follow the group, especially when it comes to certain situations where it can directly affect your let me stop. Otherwise, I'm going to be yapping for another 10 minutes.
could apply to a career, a lifestyle, or really anything. Your brain has decided that the safest way to live is going with the path of least resistance. And what that typically looks like is doing what everybody else is doing. And this is an ancient instinct that is very evident in the modern day. Almost as evident, at least, as our need for control. I would say a good majority of people at some point in their life struggle with having a pretty strong to severe need for control in at least some aspect of their life. Whether it be some sort of power trip or perfectionism or simply a sheer need for things to go their way. The ancient human mind craved control because it was predictable, and it craved that simplicity and predictability, and how that manifested was learning to seek order and trying to create a routine in a world that was completely unpredictable, but somehow simultaneously seasonal and cyclical. And how this looked in ancient times was using this need for this control to establish routines that allowed life to exist, following migration patterns of animals that would sustain your tribe's life, understanding the seasons and following weather patterns and predicting what happens when you saw a certain cloud, controlling the amount of wood you put on your fire to ensure it never went out. All of these actions are rooted in a desire for routine, order, and ultimately control. But in the modern day, this need for control has manifested rather differently. And the biggest way that our need for control hinders us in the modern day is by people trying to control factors that are out of their control. And this need that people feel that ultimately leads them to have extreme stress and anxiety about certain situations. In ancient times, the only thing we could control was our actions. And our need for control was based in our actionable pursuit of living. But in the modern day, with infinite information at our fingertips in a world that is more complex than our brain could ever perceive, this need for control oversteps its usefulness and becomes a hindrance, whether it be just being socially unlikable because you are too bossy, or being unable to enjoy something because it is not to your exact liking, or spending your free time.
Okay, that's the thing. I gotta say this. Like, there's never gonna be a right time for anything. Sometimes you just gotta go straight into it and just do it. Like the Shia LaBeouf meme, if people know who that is. Yeah, I'm kind of old. But like, a lot of times, like you said, like everything's not gonna be in your control. Like where I stay, like for example, like I live in a place where it's pretty loud and like the walls are pretty thin. So like if the neighbors are loud, I can hear it even when I'm recording, which is an inconvenience because like I want you guys to be able to hear me, but at the same time, it's like I can't control what they do. That's their own lives. This is my life. The only thing I can do is maybe post edit and just like try to reduce as much noise, background noise as possible, or like maybe do it at a time where it's a little bit more quiet, like when they're at work, or just an example. But like sometimes you just gotta adapt to your situation and just use what you got. Like sometimes you can't always control and force everything. At least in my experience, it's not worth it because you end up putting in more effort than you really need to in order to get the same results, basically.
Time worrying about something that you have no control over simply because you desire it going a certain way. And these negative feelings associated with feeling out of control leads to a negative spiral, because if you feel out of control, you feel weak, you feel less. And it's through these negative emotions that our brain develops pattern recognition, so it knows exactly what to avoid, so it cannot feel bad, so it cannot die. And this brings us to the final instinct on this list. looking for patterns that are basically not there. This instinct comes from our brain's natural desire to want to make sense of this world we live in. And in prehistoric times, spotting a pattern could make the difference between your existence and your very quick non-existence. If you notice that every time you eat a certain red berry, you throw it violently, you'll probably begin to avoid that. If you notice a pattern of everybody who wrestles with a tiger turning into red jelly, you're not going to wrestle with tigers. And from these examples, we can see the obvious advantage of pattern recognition. It's our brain's quick and easy way to quickly evaluate a situation and whether it should be avoided or pursued. And
which is one of the reasons why stereotypes is this, is because of that. Which is a whole other story, which I'm probably not going to get into for obvious reasons. But like, yeah, it's basically just there for like pain and like danger avoidance. It's easier just to assume something than it is to actually investigate it further sometimes.
Recognition works both ways. Similar to our sugar craving we mentioned at the beginning of the video, if we see something that we know is sweet, we are going to be...
One of the great challenges in this world is knowing enough about a subject to think you're right, but not enough about the subject to know you're wrong.
Yes.
Motivated to get to it. And on the same token, we may be hesitant to get this honey because we know that while the honey is sweet, the bees are plentiful and they are stinging. In the modern day, pattern recognition is definitely not life or death, but it is an extremely important part of our everyday lives. And this ability to recognize patterns allows us to maintain a lot of free mental bandwidth. Because if every time we approached a certain situation, we had to reevaluate it from scratch, well, you would be thinking consistently. But if you have a kind of mental catalog of things you could quickly reference every time you see something you've seen before, your mind is able to streamline the process of thinking, which is something your brain's always trying to do. But here's the thing, even though pattern...
Again, you can do that, but like a lot of times you really shouldn't in certain situations. Well, yeah, like in general it's good, but at the same time it's like, if you do that, sometimes you avoid situations where you can actually benefit because you see a pattern recognition or something. I don't know where I'm going with this, but like it's not always useful. Like I actively try to not think that way because every situation is different. Yeah, there's certain things that would telltale sign of like something's not good or not. You can usually tell, especially if you're like very in tune with like nature and yourself. But like in most situations, like it's more like you just hear by the ears. If it's not immediately dangerous, like I would like just do it by the ear. Just feel the situation out before I make my final judgment, because again, worst thing you can do is to stereotype something and then it turns out to be completely wrong and you just looking at it all kind of sideways.
Recognition in the modern day can and is extremely helpful in some cases. Much like the others we've discussed that are helpful, they typically overstay their welcome and overstep and can be very detrimental. And how pattern recognition typically oversteps in the modern day is by causing us to misinterpret events without context, overthink situations that are not as deep as we think, or jump to conclusions that are not there. And the reason why we do all of these things is because our mind is consistently trying to understand things. So if we have a little bit of context around something, our brain is going to try as hard as possible to try to categorize the unknown with something we know, which is most often seen when people are generalizing things. Whether it be about ideas or even people, our brain wants to seek a pattern so it can reassure itself it knows what's going on here. In ancient times, if you saw an animal with pointy teeth, you didn't need any more context about it. But in modern times, you can see a person with tattoos and go, wow, this is a bad, scary person, I'm going to avoid them. When in...
Not always. Just because you got tattoo. I mean, honestly, cool ass tattoos, by the way. I'm pretty sure it's from Jujutsu Kaisen. Again, don't quote me on that. But like, I'm pretty sure that's what what it's from. Cool tattoos, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, if you got a face tattoo, in general, you should probably like be cautious around them. I wouldn't say like, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm doing this for, but like, I would probably be a little wary about people that have face tattoos, because if you have a face tattoo, more than likely you're not the type of person that cares. So like, yeah, I would probably avoid somebody with a face tattoo unless otherwise like stated from like other reasons.
In reality, the fact that somebody may or may not have tattoos means absolutely nothing.
It's just for most people, it's placement. Head and neck tattoos, yeah, that's kind of a red flag. Like if you have like an arm tattoo, back tattoo, a leg or two, I don't think anybody's really gonna mind. But that's my personal opinion.
something about their character and who this person may be. But our ancient brain that we possess wants to keep us safe and wants to generalize as much as possible, to quickly process information and to conserve as much energy as possible. And that wasn't a knock at people with tattoos. I have tattoos myself. They're just under my red shirt. But it's an old-timey stereotype that I thought would make sense. And by this point...
Yeah, I know a lot of boomers and like some older millennials don't like tattoos because they see it's like a bad thing. They see like if you're automatically a criminal. And I know like there's parts of Asia where like if you have open tattoos in certain places, like it's like taboo. So I kind of get it.
Point of the video, you've probably already begun to recognize some patterns yourself. One pattern is that all of the entries on this list are actually intertwined and typically work off of each other to help your brain do its best to understand things quickly and survive. But another pattern I want to suggest is that our brain is just doing the best it can. It's obvious that our brain has evolved to be as beneficial as possible, and our brain has done an extremely good job of developing an operating system that is optimized to keep us alive in the prehistoric world. However, while we have had a brain that has had hundreds and thousands of years to develop to a certain style of life, over the last few thousand years, our civilization has developed rapidly at a pace that our brain is simply not able to catch up to, which has landed us in the situation that we are in now. We are living in an extremely advanced society using powerful hardware that have a outdated operating system, and we're just trying to make it all work. But the bright side is this. While our brain still has instincts within it that are no longer helpful and sometimes hurtful to us, we still have the power and ability to overcome these ancient instincts. With awareness, focus, and intention, you can consciously make an effort to begin to personally reprogram your brain to be more suited to live in the modern day. And these are things that we've already began to do, whether it be consciously or unconsciously. And at the end of the day, our brain is our friend, and our instincts are trying their best to keep us alive. The world we live in is just a little bit different than what our brain is used to. So we've got to kind of update the software on our own, but that's kind of just part of the journey. So if you've been struggling with any of these things that I've talked about in this video, whether it be a craving for sugar, trying to fit in, feeling bad about other people being higher status than you, or craving control, realize that you're not broken and you're not wrong. You're simply experiencing...
Also, other thing is, it doesn't matter how rich you get, there's always going to be somebody that's a lot richer and a lot more powerful than you. I can guarantee that one. It doesn't matter if you're a millionaire, I guarantee you there's somebody in the background that's going to be saying like, hey, you can't do this, you can't do that. I guarantee you there's probably people that Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and all the rich billionaires out there, that there's people out there that don't have no sort of ID, social security number. They don't technically exist in the world, that have way more power than like 99% of the population in the world does. So don't feel too bad, personally.
The ancient programming that your brain has developed over hundreds of thousands of years of existence. But understand that this doesn't define you, and that you can have a conscious impact on how your brain operates moving forward with enough intention and effort.
My brain? You mean it other way around. You see, I'm the brain, the brainstem, and the nerve endings, bro. I'm just the one piling the meat puppet. Kind of like how they do in like Power Rangers and shit.
So yeah, you came to this video for some interesting facts, and now you're leaving with the motivational speech. If you enjoyed this video, check out the video on screen right now. It's a video about the worst...
Also, yeah, I might watch that video next. It looks interesting, but real quick. I'm just gonna look at that real quick, but I'm gonna step away from the camera right now for like a hot second. My stomach bubbling. So like, yeah. Just enjoy this for like the next like 10-15 minutes. Y'all didn't see that. All right, where was I? Okay, not sure how that happened, but okay. Where was I at? I was gonna watch the videos, but hold on. You didn't hear that? Okay, so I want to watch something that's like decent, but at the same time, I kind of want to watch something different. That's like not Stickman-y, which I mean, it's not like I had nothing against it. It's just, again, I'm not gonna. I don't. This ain't a live reaction channel to like politics. This is more like. I mean, I still talk about real world issues, but like I don't directly talk about like. Well, I don't directly talk about politics. I'll mention it in passing, but like I'm not that type of channel. Here it is. This is what I was talking about earlier. Lindsay Nicole. I would watch this, but it's like 2.5 hours long, and I'm not about to sit here and watch this on camera because, yeah. I think I've seen this one already. You know, I'm gonna watch it.
Prompter People's Pocket Q is the most modular and professional smartphone teleprompter with the ability to upgrade to a monitor or...
You know, one effect that working at fast food restaurants has had on me is that I now permanently view these establishments very differently. And this has...
Okay, so this is Confessions of a Fast Food Employee by Saga the Youngin. Again, I'm not subscribed to my other channel, so I'm gonna subscribe to him on this channel. Again, if you haven't liked, subscribe. This helps out the creator.
Nothing to do with the food itself, because everybody already knows that what you eat at a fast food place is questionable. You know that when you order it. Burger was just infused.
Okay, for some context, for like maybe a year or two before COVID happened, I had worked at like a campus diner, and I was in charge of like being in the back cooking food, preparing stuff, cleaning, taking out the trash, you know, usual stuff, dishwashing. Stuff like that. So like I'm very familiar with like the customer service and fast food like aspect of this. So I'm probably gonna put in my own personal experience and like opinions on it.
With GMO super molecules. That's probably how they get it to taste so good though. Matter of fact, hit my burger with another syringe of whatever the good stuff is. But no, what I'm talking about is the type of stuff that goes down in the back in these fast food kitchens that you...
I swear, bro. If you don't catch 2 or 3 people smoking weed in the back by the dumpster, bro, your food gonna be ass. Especially if you don't see the chef back there on his break smoking, bro, that food ass. Hands down.
Is the customer never see and never know about. And it's all as a result of some of the absolute menaces they hire at some of the...
I'll be honest, hold on. I was that person, literally just eating while working and shit.
some of the absolute menaces they hire at some of these places. I think a food handler's card is really just a piece of paper they'll sell to anybody with $10. You hate to see it. Let me give you just one example off the top of my head, which this is an all-time fast food classic. In fact, you've probably been a victim of something like this yourself without even knowing it. So back in the kitchen, we had these big plastic waste buckets that we would use to throw old food in after it sat out too long. And we had two of them, one for the chicken and one for the fries. And these buckets would fill up with waste as the day went on. And the reason we were always wasting so much food was because it could be difficult to perfectly calculate the exact amount of food to cook. And sometimes you would just end up overcooking. And then the biggest amounts of waste.
I think I've done that once in my career personally, where I literally put on some fries and forgot to put the timer on and it just burnt the shit. Luckily I caught it before it caught on fire, but like still we had to throw out the whole batch.
Would happen when we were in the middle of a rush, customers pouring in, so we're cooking basket after basket to keep up with all the customers, right? But then sometimes these rushes would just suddenly end, get Thanos snapped out of nowhere, it would seem, and we'd be stuck with just mountains of food and not enough.
Yep. And then basically your boss tell you like, all right, since it's light, go out there and go clean up everything. Literally be like, all right, since there's less people, you take that mop, go out to the front and mop everything. Then go in the back, take out all this extra stuff and just throw that shit away in the back. I mean, me personally, we wouldn't have made that much food. We probably would have made like maybe a pile or two of like extra, but a lot of times out of 10, that stuff would have been eaten at the end of the night by like the staff working there who wants to take some food back home.
Customers. And then all this food would just sit out, get all soggy, mushy, start changing colors, and it somehow still looks more appetizing than Arby's. But that's what we had the waste bucket for, right? And we'd fill that thing up to the top with decomposing chicken fingers pretty much every day.
Yeah, my ass would have been in there eating one or two pieces as I'm throwing that shit out, personally. Again, this is for them food service workers out there. I know some of y'all are literally throwing away shit in the back at night and then you just see a big ass rat jump out the dumpster.
And that whole thing would end up in the dumpster with the roaches at the end of the night.
And the roaches
so
too.
One particular night, it's a couple hours before closing, and there's only a couple of us employees left in the restaurant. And I'm not even making people's orders. I'm in the back mopping up the floors. It was my coworker that was on the line making orders, and the manager was away in his office. And when the manager was in his office, that was always a good sign. Manager.
Yeah, when the manager was kind of way doing their own thing, that's when you could just like, I mean, yeah, you do your work, but at the same time, you just really just fucking around, chilling until like everything closes.
In the office meant that orders were going out quickly and there were no problems and nothing for them to come out and yell at us about. Because to give you some background, the one thing that everything revolved around at this chicken franchise was the service times. It was all about getting the customer their food fast, within 2 minutes, 3 minutes max, from the moment they ordered to the moment they were handed their food at the window. That is definitely one thing this franchise took extremely seriously. I mean, let the manager think you weren't breaking the barriers of time and space to crank out orders, and you would just get absolutely reamed over it. I'm talking about verbally berated. Management would be irate.
I'm so lucky I didn't have managers like that. Actually, you know what? I lied. I had one manager when I first started working in food service that literally had a bone to pick with me personally, even though I did my job like I was supposed to, even though I didn't have much enthusiasm with it. And I remember it got to the point where I just kind of just like said, fuck this. And like, I just cussed her ass out. And then maybe like a few months later, she just quit. It was a weird situation. Again, if you ever worked in fast food, you will know like it's very complicated. It's like cliques and then people doing stuff outside of work and then people fucking each other and like, stuff like that. It gets pretty saucy. Everybody knows each other. Everybody's messing around each other. People doing drugs, that type shit. That's pretty normal in the kitchen setting.
Yelling at you like, what, do you think this is all a game? And then they threatened to throw you on dish duty. That was always the classic.
At the point, I'll take dish. Personally, I'll take dish duty. Honestly, that's the time where you can literally just pop in one of your heads, like one of your AirPods and shit, and just vibe as you just clean everything. You ain't got to worry about nobody yelling at you. You just got to make sure everything's clean at the end of the night.
Threat that you'd get thrown on dish duty, not only for the rest of your current shift, but also for all future shifts indefinitely into eternity. And I mean, of course you don't want the customer having to wait too long for their food, but management would act like they were running a special ops mission or something. I mean, let's not forget this is a $9 fast food meal. So on this night, like I said, I'm mopping up in the back and a customer pulls up to the drive-thru and he orders a 3-piece combo. Simple, basic order, right? Easy enough. So the order comes in and my coworker up front, he starts making the meal, making the toast, getting the fries, and I notice all the way from the back, the customer ordered a 3-piece.
Okay, now that I think about it, after giving all these clues and stuff on what they're doing, this got to be Raising Cane's.
But there's only 2 fingers in the chicken holder. We're 1 finger short. I look at the timer for how long until fresh chicken, and a new batch was still 3 minutes away. Then I look at the drive-thru timer, and this car had already been sitting there for 2.5 minutes. So I'm doing the math in my head, and that's a 5.5 minute order. An atrocity right there. Managers are about to be livid. And I guess bro at the order making station, he did the same math because he starts stressing out a little bit. I notice him looking back and forth between the drive-thru timer, the half-made order just sitting there on the counter, and the chicken timer. Keep in mind, the whole time that drive-thru timer just keeps ticking up. 2 minutes and 40 seconds, 2 minutes and...
In this situation, you basically say move them up to the front, give them out from that little drive thing, and then have them on like the side entrance. Have them wait, maybe throw in a little bit of, like an extra tender in there or two for the inconvenience. I get that it's a franchise and you want to make everything fast, but at the same time, it's like in that situation, you just got to cut your losses and just maybe give them like extra freebie. Just basically just have, like I said, put them to the side, ask them like if they want something extra for their wait. Like just keep it simple. That way they don't like snitch the corporate saying like, oh, what took so long?
50 seconds. That thing crossed 3 minutes. The screen turned from green to yellow. They color coded it just to let you know how much you suck at your job. And definitely don't let it get to red. That's once you hit 4 minutes. So out of the corner of my eye, I'm noticing dude getting restless, doing a lot of fidgeting. He starts pacing back and forth. I mean, bro was probably having visions into the future of getting put on permanent dish duty, scrubbing off towers of the slimiest, crustiest of dishes. But my boy was a quick decision maker, and I guess he made up his mind on how he was going to solve this situation because he walks over to the waste bin, does a quick head swivel side to side, made sure the coast was clear, and then he shrugged his shoulders, reached his hand into the chicken finger graveyard, and
we pretty much take it all. Fridges, dishwashers, couches, mattresses, same day notice, or 3 weeks.
And plucks a finger off the top. And you can already guess, he walks over to the dude's order, tucks the bad finger all discreetly under the other 2 fresh tenders, covers everything up with a piece of toast, slams the box shut, and promptly rushes it off to the drive-thru window. At which point, it was then bagged up and handed to the customer.
No, you just as that motherfucker that put a wing in my bag and shit that had like feathers still on it.
He really thought he was slick. And to be honest, he might have been because the customer drove off and boom, 3 minutes and 18 second service time. Hey, that's solid time right there. See, these were the types of problems he was paid to solve. Mission accomplished. And in that moment, we done turned into a chum bucket franchise. And I know that might seem kind of like an extreme thing to do, but look, this is really a no-lose situation if you think about it. Because the employee avoids getting yelled at by the manager doesn't have to explain high times to his boss, so he secured his bonus, and that's one less piece of food that has to be tragically wasted. That's W's all around. Oh, and the customer? He'll probably dip that finger in some sauce or something anyways. I bet he won't even notice. Yeah, he'll probably have some diarrhea or something the next day, but he'll just chalk it up to the whole meal in general. Matter of fact, he'll probably be back next week for more. Repeat customer.
Bruh.
But yeah, people were always going to the craziest of lengths to keep the service times low. And it wasn't always grabbing food from the waste bucket. I mean, sometimes it would be the opposite. I would see people undercook the food so it could be ready faster. They would be ripping open half-cooked pieces of chicken like, I mean, it's not that pink, right? What do you think? You think it's good? And then someone else would be like, yeah, close enough. Serve that batch up. I mean, isn't the point of rushing the food out as fast as possible to give the customer the best experience possible? Except, ironically, it would often just end up with them getting a horrible experience. So, task failed successfully, I guess. I mean, nowadays when I eat fast food, I almost feel better when the food takes a few minutes longer than normal to make, because then I don't have to sit there wondering what type of shenanigans went down that made it possible for my food to be ready in 2.453 seconds. See, at first you think of it as a plus when your order gets called quick, but now that I think about it more, I better not hear my order called while I'm still filling up my drink, while I'm at the napkin station. No, it's gotta be at least after I've already been sitting down in my seat for a little bit. I remember on another occasion that somebody got done dirty, and I would actually prefer the musty chicken finger compared to this, and this time involved their drink, specifically their sweet tea. Now, I usually worked in the kitchen, so I was in the back when this happened, but I heard about the story later that night, and this one was bad. I can't even laugh about this one. Because we had these drink dispensers that we would serve the iced tea from, right? We had like a dozen of them spread all over the restaurant. Some were in the lobby, some were behind the counter, a few at the drive-thru. And we had to clean each one of these containers every single night. Take them all apart, clean all the little pieces, and then put them all back together. It was kind of a headache.
They're not that bad,
so
but you gotta spray 'em
sometimes, to
first.
make it easier, instead of cleaning them all after we closed, we would give whoever was on dish duty a head start and take them down maybe an hour or so before we closed. So we would combine what was left in every tea holder from the entire restaurant into a single 5-gallon bucket and serve tea out of that bucket for the rest of the night. So the upside was you got to start on the dishes early, but the downside with the bucket is it was kind of a hassle to use because
Why didn't you just literally just pour it all into one dispenser instead of just doing that? You would have saved so much heartache. Because not only do you gotta wash that out, now you gotta wash out that big container. It literally made more sense to keep it in 1 or 2 containers and just wash them 2 at the end of the night than make extra work.
start on the dishes early, but the downside with the bucket is it was kind of a hassle to use because you had to basically scoop the tea with a separate cup down into the bucket and then pour that cup into the other cup as opposed to just pouring it straight from the dispenser. So on this night, like usual, they had taken down early all of the many tea dispensers and piled them all up at the dish station for whatever lucky individual was on dish to start working on. But I guess the girl that was on drive-thru was getting a lot more iced tea orders than was normal for this late at night, and she got tired of having to scoop cup after cup out of the bucket. So she walked back to the dish station, grabbed one of the tea dispensers from the dish pile, walked it back to the drive-thru, and dumped the 5-gallon bucket back into the dispenser. And the dish guy, he could just clean that one final tea dispenser at the very end of the night, no problem, right? So like 10 minutes passes by, she's working the drive-thru like normal. She serves a few customers their tea, at which point the dish guy, Michael, leaves his dish station and walks over to the drive-thru. And he's looking at the tea kind of in a confused way, and he's like, wait a minute, that tea dispenser right there, where did you get that from? And she says, oh, I got it from your dish rack. I had brought them all over to you maybe 10 minutes ago, but we got kind of busy, so I just took this one back. And Michael's like, Sarah, please tell me you haven't been serving tea to people out of that tea dispenser. And she's like, yeah, like I just said. I got annoyed having to scoop tea by hand, so I've just been using this for the last 10 minutes. And Michael, he just starts looking horrified. He looks like he ate one of them rotten chicken fingers. And the reason being, I guess what had happened was when she had originally brought those tea dispensers over to him, he had took it upon himself to spray down the insides of those containers with bleach. Just doused all of them in nothing but raw chlorine bleach.
Yeah, I've done that before. Plenty of times. Especially when you had like a lot of like dishes that didn't fit in the sink when you was doing it at the end of the night. Sometimes I would like preemptively just start spraying the solution all over it beforehand. Just to get a head start like he's doing right here. So like I get it. At the same time, like she should have looked at it and been like, maybe I should wash it beforehand. But at the same time, she's probably just like, alright, I just need something real quick. So I kind of get it.
And we would always just soak those tea dispensers with bleach because it helped with getting all the tea stains out. It was a typical thing we would do. And so he soaked them all in bleach like normal and then turned his back on them. Probably started working on other dishes while waiting for the bleach to soak in. But Sarah, she always worked the drive-thru. She had never done dish before. So she wasn't aware that dousing the tea containers with bleach was a standard everyday process. Because here's the thing, when you first spray bleach onto something, it would be kind of bubbly and you could clearly tell that something...
See, this is why I'm glad the place I worked at, they had everybody that was like non like chef and like who were like non-chef and like non like station specific. They had them like moved from station to station to get like a layout of like what everything is. Cause yeah, I'll be honest, she wouldn't have known that, especially if she never done dishes before.
And would just spray it all over it. But let 10 minutes go by and the bubbles would pop, the bleach would run down the sides, and it all just combined with whatever tea was left at the bottom. I don't think she would have been able to tell that there were any chemicals in there at all. So by the time Sarah walked back over, she didn't know anything was wrong. Michael didn't catch her. He was oblivious. Nobody noticed anything. And so she set up that dispenser, poured the tea bucket into it, where it was combined with who knows how much bleach. Next thing you know, they're serving up industrial grade iced tea, disinfected beverages. So yeah, that was not good. That was definitely not good. But I gotta be honest, things would only go on to get worse. Because if we run down the list of food code violations so far, yeah, you prefer a musty, crusty chicken finger over bleached iced tea. I mean, one is nasty, the other one is just straight up dangerous. But I would also prefer bleached iced tea to the worst abomination I had ever seen cooked up in that kitchen. I mean, bleached tea is pretty bad, and this one might be even worse. I don't know, they're close. And this one involved a manager too. We'll call him Manager Jim. If you guys remember this guy, the menace of fast food himself. You remember he was the one that assaulted the homie Nico back when we were still kids in high school. I'll link the video on the end card at the end of the video if you haven't seen it. But yeah, this is that same Jim. What a guy. And another item on the long list of his war crimes was when we accidentally cooked up a toxic abomination of a batch of food one day, an entire batch, and it was an accident, I'll get into it, but then it was Jim that served the whole thing up to a few lucky customers.
No.
Yeah, the reign of Jim as assistant manager saw many dark moments. Now, how did we accidentally cook up this toxic abomination in the first place?
That's a mining card, if I believe correctly.
Well, you see, what had happened was the fryers at this place would get filthy, right? If you drain the oil out of them, all you would see left behind is just a graveyard of gunk and grime, stuff burnt onto the metal, just nasty stuff caked all over the insides. But we had a rotating cleaning schedule where the openers every few mornings would clean 2 fryers. So this would ensure that every fryer would get cleaned out about every week or so. And the way we would clean these, it was a whole project. You would start by...
Bro, I used to hate having to clean them fryers when I was still working in the kitchen. I remember I had to do it once where we had to drain out all the used oil from the bottom because there's like a little faucet thing. At the most industrial fryers have like a little faucet thing at the bottom that you open up and then you pour into like a container. Most of the time they would have you pour it right back in the same container you put it in, but sometimes they'll have like a big old like plastic tub that you pour all the used oil in. Then once all that stuff drains out, you have to go in, physically scrape all that stuff that's stuck in the bottom trap, put that in the bin too. Then you have to go in and use... Hold on, I'm pretty sure he's probably going to talk about it, so I'm not going to talk about it here. But, like, it was a pain in the ass to do it by hand because of how gunked up and how just stuck on grime everything was.
Scrubbing off as much as you could get by hand, and once you couldn't get any more, you'd fill up the fryer with water to try and boil off the rest of everything else that was stuck on. And stuff would really be stuck on there. This was like when you forget to soak the pan in water after you're done cooking and find it 3 hours later, but times 1,000. And so food and grease would be so burnt on that even the boiling water wasn't enough. So we also had this powdered fryer cleaner. It was basically just a mixture of a ton of chemicals, and you dump that into the boiling water, and that mixture was supposed to be...
Yeah, they had... Okay, so they do got the powder mixture, but the place I worked at, they had a liquid solution that you poured in there after you poured in the water. And a lot of times they'll let you have that stuff sit there for like a good 30 minutes, maybe an hour, before you have to drain it out, depending on how concentrated the solution is.
Powerful enough to just completely purge the fryer. And it definitely...
But, so the thing is, in order to avoid this exact same situation, my personal kitchen that I was working at, we didn't do it at the start of the day, right before lunch. We did it at the end of the night on like you said, like every other day. I think we did it maybe like once or twice a week. at the place I worked at, and we always did it like right before closing because again, you want to avoid these type of situations where you're literally cleaning it as people are coming in trying to get their food and yeah, all the confusion and stuff for this exact reason.
Those fryers would come out looking brand new afterwards. But the thing with this fryer,
also I think he probably forgot to mention, but this stuff is like, that solution that they use is very strong. Like once you smell it, once you know that smell, like it smells like strong industrial cleaner. Like it feel like if you put your hand in it, like it's stripping the skin and pigment off of your shit.
Cleaner is it was highly toxic, highly. And because it was so toxic, after you cleaned the fryer of the actual charred food and grease that was in there, you had to clean it again to clear out any toxic residue that might be left. So you had to basically clean out the cleaner. And that was the most important part of the process. After you boiled that fryer clean using this toxic potion, you drained the mixture out of there, and then you had to make 110% sure to rinse out that fryer very, very well so that absolutely no residue from the fryer cleaner was left behind. That step was very important. In fact, we would drag in the hose from outside and you would just blast the fryer with it to make sure every speck of that fryer cleaner gets washed away. And once you were confident you didn't leave behind a single particle of this poison, you could now pour some fresh oil back in the fryer and start cooking again. And here's the thing, is you would immediately know if you left any fryer cleaner behind.
Yeah, I've had it where like it wasn't cleaned out properly. That shit tastes zingy. Imagine like tasting like a lemon, something between a lemon and like a 9-volt battery. That's what that shit tastes like. It's so nasty. I remember we had to do that again. It wasn't me. It was like somebody else who was doing it. They didn't clean it out properly, and we had cooked a batch of chicken tenders and stuff for like our lunch rush, and that shit was zingy. Like not like a lemon zingy, like zingy. Like you poison yourself zingy. Shit was crazy because he got chewed out by the management, and he literally had to clean out the fryers. Literally have to pour out all that grease, redo everything, and literally it was a whole mess.
Behind. Because if you did, as soon as you tried to fry something in there, everything would react and the whole thing would just start foaming up like crazy. You would definitely know. It looked like something that would give you superpower.
Thing is, ours didn't foam up. It just like as soon as you fried it, you would taste it immediately in the chicken.
Hours if you fell into it. Well, one day we were just about finished up cleaning one of the fryer slots, and we were running a little behind schedule on this day because we were supposed to be finished with the fryer cleaning in the morning, but it was already lunchtime and we were just now wrapping up. So Jim is already stressed thin because the lunch rush is coming through and you're not really supposed to be down a fryer going into the lunch rush. So because of that, we're having trouble keeping up with orders. Tickets are just piling up one after the other. And Jim's yelling at us to hurry up with the cleaning. I mean, this man was always yelling, constantly, and today was no exception. So he's yelling at us to bring the fryer online ASAP. But no worries, right? No worries, because the oil finally finishes heating up. I start dropping chicken into the newly cleaned fryer, right? I'm loading up the fryer with as much as could fit. We have like 25 tickets to make, but it's all good. We've got plenty of food on the way. But then it's a couple minutes into the chicken cooking and I'm watching it cook and I'm seeing a few more bubbles flying out of the oil than normal. And then those few extra bubbles turned into a little bit of frothiness, and then that turned into the whole fryer just overflowing to the brim with foam. I was like, oh nah, it's over. I don't remember whose specific job it was to wash the fryers clean that day, but they for sure messed up. But regardless, here we were. So I had to go personally deliver the bad news to Jim, which I wasn't thrilled about because, like I told the story in an old video, this man has been known to assault his workers before. So I try to lay it down lightly, right? He's busy making orders around the corner or something, and I walk over to him. I'm like, hey Jim, let me show you something real quick. This batch of chicken, the one that was supposed to be ready in a few minutes, yeah, I think we're gonna have to scrap the whole thing. And as I was explaining to him about the toxic oil and all that, Jim starts realizing what had happened. This man's face starts turning red with anger, just like the current color of the service timer actually. But his stress does make sense. We're low on food, tickets are printing out of the machine non-stop. You know, some construction crew pulls up on their lunch break 10 deep. Things were getting chaotic. And so Jim looks at the fryer, walks over to it, picks up the baskets out of the foaming oil, and threw everything in the trash. Is what I wish I could say happened. But instead, no, how it actually happened, he picks up the chicken, moves it to the empty fryer directly next to it, and he says, all right, there we go. See, it's in clean oil now. I'm sure the batch will be fine. Just avoid that toxic oil until we can clean it out again. All right, continue.
He could have at least shooken off all the oil that was already on them pieces of chicken for a second before he did that, at least.
Work as normal. And my coworker and myself were looking at each other, and my coworker, he was like, wait a minute. What do you mean by that batch will be fine? You're talking about those baskets of chicken right there that have just been marinating in who knows what type of toxicity? Chemicals infused into every fiber of every chicken finger? I mean, that's how cooking stuff in oil works, right? That's crazy. This was too far even for rotten chicken finger guy. Even he's looking around like he can't believe this chicken is anywhere but the dumpster right now. And then there was the additional problem that the oil he had transferred the chicken into, it was clean, but I feel like we now contaminated that oil too, therefore contaminating all future food cooked in both fryers.
Yeah,
so we just kept going further and further in the wrong direction. But Jim, he's like, no, we don't have time for any of this, all right? Look right there. That timer is going off. That means the food is ready. Pull that food out. And what Jim says goes, so he saw to it that the...
No, if this was me personally, I would have been petty as shit. I would have reported his ass to corporate. Because ain't no fucking way you're going to be serving that. Basically, you poisoned that food, and you're trying to serve it.
Chicken finished cooking.
Even if only one person out of them 10 people come back and report that, it's over with. Because corporate's going to have to investigate, especially if it's like a case of food poisoning. They're going to look at the cameras, because there's going to be cameras in the kitchen area, and they're going to see what happened. They're going to see all that foam coming out, showing that it's contaminated, and showing the boss, the supervisor, putting the shit in the clean grease and trying to serve it and try to pass it off like it's fresh. Ain't no way that's going to fly at all.
And then personally served up the entire batch. And I'm talking about the entire batch, bro. Not one finger left over. He starts moving in fast motion, making mad platters of this toxic chicken and throwing them up on the completed orders area. And we did this thing at that restaurant where if there were little tiny pieces of chicken that weren't big enough to count as a full finger, we'd throw a couple of those into people's orders for free. And I didn't even see any of those left over. He used up every aspect of that batch. Hey, that rotten chicken is looking like a pretty good alternative right about now. I mean, good thing no customer had to be inconvenienced with an additional 5-minute wait, right? Anything but that. Yeah, those customers ate that chicken and got x-ray vision afterwards. So look, guys, come through. You know, we got chemical infused chicken. You could wash it down with some bleached iced tea. Fries could have been taken from the rotten pile. And it will only take 2 minutes and 30 seconds for us to get all of that to you. I
delicious.
know, it's pretty impressive. And by the way, feel free to leave a tip at the end of your order. It's just going to ask you one question real quick.
Killing me with that shit. Give him a $400 tip. I mean 400% tip. But yeah, so like again, this is very good video. Make sure you like and subscribe. Obviously, it helps the creator. You put their kitchen right in front of where you can order your food. Yes. I'm not gonna read this, but again, I like looking at the comments. I knew it was Raising Cane's. I automatically knew as soon as you start putting that Texas toast on that in that basket. I already knew. Weird thing is, I've had Raising Cane's. They're all right, but like they expensive for what you get. I tried to get the hype, but that sauce it ain't that special. Cleaning the tea nozzles with which cakes with mold. Yes. Don't go to roast my 30 minutes. Yes. I used to hate it when people used to come in like at the last second trying to get some fucking food. I hated that with a passion. Like this dude saying, like, it literally do not go like 30 minutes before it's closed, or do not come like right before you guys open, before they're open, because they're not ready. And you being there just gonna make more stress for them. Don't do that. Yeah, I'm lucky. I had a good manager too when I was working. Besides the one I was talking about, like the managers I had were pretty chill. They let me get away with shit I really shouldn't have got away with. But it was fun because everybody knew each other. Everybody had fun. We had celebrations. What time is it? Okay. Shoot. You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I'm probably gonna stop for right now. It's like 10 o'clock or 10:30 on like a Monday where I'm at, and I'm pretty sure nobody's watching that realistically. Yeah. So again, so I appreciate you guys coming out. Again, this is day 2 of my Unemployed Type Shit live stream. I'm gonna try to keep on doing it for the rest of the week. I'm gonna try to stay consistent. Again, I got stuff going on in the background, but I'm gonna try to give you guys quality content. So again, like you said, love, peace. Y'all awesome. Don't do drugs unless you just want to.